Good morning. Welcome to this very special day where we come together for the first Buddhist Symposium hosted by the Great Stupa of Universal Compassion. I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land upon which we are standing, the Dja Wurrung people of the Kulin Nation, whose culture and customs have nurtured and continue to nurture this land. We pay our respects to the elders, past, present, and future, and all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island peoples. To start the day, we now invite Peta Hudson to conduct the welcome to country. Peta is a proud Jara, Tongurung, and Yota medicine woman with ancestral bloodlines in Indian healing. Dedicated to lifelong learning, Peta is on a mission to revive the ancient traditional medicinal and healing practices passed down to her.
Good morning. My name is Peta Hudson, and I'm a proud, strong, and wise Jara, Tanarong, Yorta Jara woman with Indian and Welsh heritage. Benjen Womanjenka, Benjen Anuk Jandak, Lani Dja Wurrung Gulicha, Manyanak, Manyaran Murup. Translates to, we welcome you to Jara, Jandak, ancestral homelands of the Jara people, and we wish you good Murup, which means spirit. Jara have a strong presence on our Jandak and healthy partnerships with local government and organisations. Jandak is also known for the gold mining history in the region, the Chinese community, tourism, and the many churches. Welcome to country and smoking ceremonies are honouring our true history, revitalising Jandak, truth-telling, sharing cultural ways, and our strong connection to Jandak. Reciprocity is integral to culture. To receive is to give, and connects one in respect and acknowledgement. If it was not for our Martinga Gully ancestors, who would we be? We are grateful always for their lifeways and customs that created our world. We honour our Martinga Gully and continue the journey of respect for generations not yet born, and we are thankful for our own contributions to greater cultural wellness. We must acknowledge our ancestors first and foremost. Thank you and enjoy your event.
We now invite Geshe Lhakdor and Venerable Chokyi to do a short prayer to set the motivation for the day.
My last verse says, may the visit of the Buddha on this earth continue to happen. may the upholder of teachings of the Buddha live like brothers and sisters, and may the light of the teaching of the Buddha shine everywhere. Thank you.
This symposium, titled The Buddhist Path of Compassion to World Peace, is jointly presented by the Tibetan Information Office and the Great Stupa of Universal Compassion, commemorating His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama's wish for his 90th year of life to be the year of compassion. As our name states, the Great Stupa of Universal Compassion, and as we host the Jade Buddha of Universal Peace, we continue to fulfill the goal of creating spaces and initiatives that would spread these very important subjects of peace and compassion with the aim of benefiting all sentient beings. We want to thank all of you here present today, because as we move into times where hate and violence seem to take over the news, it is thanks to your commitment of all of you to create causes for more kindness, love and compassion to spread throughout the world, and that these spaces can continue to flourish. Thank you to all our volunteers who are assisting us to make this a successful event. We also give our sincerest thanks to our wonderful speakers and special guests who have come from all over the world to share the wisdom on the subject. We also would like to thank our VIPs, Ian Green, Judy Green, Maree Edwards, Councillor Abhishek Awasti, Mayor Councillor Thomas Prince, Michael and Leanne Wells, representing the Buddhist Council of Victoria, members of the Bendigo Interfaith Council, Peter J. Webb, Siddharth Martrick, and the Deputy Abbot of Dhammakaya Temple in Thailand. We also like to thank our benefactors who have made this day possible: Venerable Lectron, Jeff Keith, and Lily Fu. Please give them all a round of applause to thank them. Now we call upon our Chairman and Director, Ian Green, for an official welcome to this symposium.
Thanks very much, Mary. I remember when I'm here that in 1995 I went to Tibet with a few people, and the following year, in 1996, we met with His Holiness the Dalai Lama in Sydney. And when I was there, we had the opportunity, Judy and I had an opportunity to meet with His Holiness and to explain to him that we are going to build this direct copy of the Gyantse Kumbum Stupa, which is Tibet's largest stupa, in the bushland near Bendigo in Australia. And His Holiness looked at me with a sort of a little bit of a wry look on his face, and he said to me, "Are you sure you're going to build this stupa?" And I said, not knowing 100% what would happen, but I said, "Yes, Your Holiness, we will." And so a little bit later, I asked him for a name for our stupa. And he thought for a few moments, and then he said, Thubten Chokyi. I wrote it down, making sure that I had every word correct in the title, in the Tibetan title, and then afterwards I had that translated to the Great Stupa of Universal Compassion. And so when my friend Karma Singey from the Tibet Information Office in Canberra rang me a few months ago, some time ago, and said, you know, His Holiness's 90th birthday year is coming up and it's the year of compassion. How about we do something inside the stupa? And I thought, this is perfect because this is, in a way, thanking His Holiness for giving us our name and for giving us the belief, I guess, that we would go ahead and actually have this stupa built. So it's a great honour for me to be here today, to welcome you all, and I feel so honoured that we have guests from India, from Sri Lanka, from Thailand, and of course we have other very senior Sangha members from Melbourne as well. So it's a great honour to be hosting that particular group of speakers, and of course a great honour to be hosting you as well. So welcome, and I hope that the symposium is really meaningful for all of us. Thank you very much.
Next, we welcome Karma Singey, representative of His Holiness the Dalai Lama in Australia. Karma was born in a Tibetan settlement in Ladakh, India. He pursued his education at Punjab University and later taught at a branch of the Tibetan Children's Village before being recruited to undertake training to join the Central Tibetan Administration, aka the Tibetan government in exile. Since his recruitment into the Central Tibetan Administration in 1995, he has served at different Tibetan settlements in various capacities. Karma Singey assumed the post of representative of His Holiness the Dalai Lama for Australia, New Zealand and Southeast Asia on April 14, 2021. Please join your hands to welcome Karma.
Venerable Sangha members, guest of honor Maree Edwards, Speaker of the Victorian Legislative Assembly, distinguished guests and my dear friends, good morning and a very warm welcome to you all. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the Jajawaring people, the traditional custodian of the land on which we gathered here today. I pay my respect to the elders past and emerging. We are meeting here today at this great stupa of universal responsibility, the largest Buddhist stupa in Western world. It was modeled on the 14th century stupa at Yangtze in Tibet. In 2007, His Holiness Dalai Lama visited Bendigo to bless and consecrate this sacred site. He was warmly welcomed by the Jajawaring people who honored him with an Aboriginal smoking ceremony. And during that visit, His Holiness expressed his wish for the stupa to become a center for interfaith activity. So I'm very delighted that through the tireless dedication of Mr. N. Green and his team, the stupa stands today not only as a testament to the Buddhist heritage, but also as a center for interfaith activity and a place of peace, learning, and spiritual inspiration. It is my great honor to welcome you all to this very important symposium, jointly organized by the Great Stupa of Universal Responsibility and my office, the Tibet Information Office, to honor His Holiness Dalai Lama's 90th birth year and to reflect on the values His Holiness has shared for decades: compassion, nonviolence, religious harmony, universal responsibility. This year, 2025 to 26, is particularly meaningful, not only for the friends of Tibet and well-wisher of His Holiness Dalai Lama, but also a global sort of significance. year because this year has been designated by the Central Tibetan Administration as the Year of Compassion in honor of His Holiness, His Holiness birthday, 90th birthday. So this year is not just a celebration of His Holiness' remarkable life, but also an opportunity for all of us to reflect on and put on practice His wisdoms and teaching. His Holiness often summarized his life's work through 4 principal commitments. His first commitment is promotion of human values. As a human being, he emphasized compassion, kindness, tolerance, contentment, and self-discipline, the very foundation for a happy life and a healthy society. His second commitment is promotion of religious harmony. As a religious practitioner, His Holiness encouraged understanding among the world's religion, reminding us that despite philosophical differences, they all shared the same essential message of love and compassion. And third commitment is preservation of Tibetan culture. As a Tibetan, His Holiness works tirelessly to protect the Tibetan language and culture. He also advocated for the fragile environment of the Tibetan plateau, which is deeply connected to the regional and global security, serving as the third pole and a primary source of water for billions of people in Asia and the downstream. And his fourth commitment is revival of ancient Indian knowledge. His Holiness dedicated himself to raising awareness, especially among the young people, of ancient wisdom on minds, emotions, and ethical living, including ahimsa, nonviolence, and karuna, compassion. Today, the world faces serious challenges, from environmental crisis to conflicts and division among people and nation. In times like this, compassion is sometimes misunderstood as weakness. But as His Holiness reminds us, compassion is not weakness. It is a profound strength, one that comes from realizing that our happiness is deeply connected to the happiness of others. The purpose of today's symposium is to explore how these timeless Buddhist values can be applied practically to build a more peaceful and harmonious world. We are truly fortunate that today we have us Eastern Buddhist scholars, leaders, and community representatives who will generate, share their knowledge, insight, and experiences. I would like to acknowledge the presence of our distinguished speakers, Geshe Lhakdor, Most Venerable Kallanchiye Rathanasiri, Venerable Ronrawee, Venerable Nguyen Tang, Kwang Sunim, and Venerable Thubten Chokyi. Your presence will greatly enrich today's discussion and guide us to explore how we apply Buddhist values and virtues in our daily lives and within our communities and for the betterment of the world. I would like to express my gratitude to everyone here today for honoring these timeless values and supporting a shared value of harmony and goodwill. I hope today's discussion inspires each of us to bring more compassion into our daily lives and the communities we serve. In doing so, we continue the vision that His Holiness Dalai Lama has shared with the world throughout his life, a vision of a more peaceful, caring, and compassionate world. Lastly, I would like to thank all of you for being here and for joining us in honoring His Holiness' 90th birthday and enduring the spirit of compassion. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us today, Karma Singey. We want to present you a certificate to recognize your presence and participation on this special day. We now invite the Chief Guest of Honor, Maree Edwards MP, Speaker of the Victorian Parliament. Maree Edwards has been a member of the Victorian Parliament since November 2010 and was re-elected in 2014, 2018 and 2022. Maree serves as the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly, which she has held since August 2022. Maree's vision for Victoria's future is that equality is not negotiable and that vulnerable people and communities must be listened to and that support must be available to all. Please help me welcome Maree Edwards.
Thank you so much, Mary, and thank you for that warm welcome this morning. I would also, of course, like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land that we're gathered on, the Dja Dja Wurrung, and pay my respects to elders past and present. And it's an absolute honour to join you to celebrate what is, of course, the 90th birthday of His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, with you, but importantly to join you for this morning's symposium. Can I also acknowledge our guests, our very special guests this morning, Khame Singey, representing His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Geshe Lhakdor, Director of the Library of Tibetan Works and Archives and former translator to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Councillor Thomas Prince, Mayor of the City of Greater Bendigo and Councillor Abhishek Awasati, Ian Green, OAM, Chairman of the Great Stupa of Universal Compassion, but a very, very special warm welcome to our international visitors and guests, to our special speakers, and of course to the Tibetan Information Centre and of the Great Stupa for hosting today's symposium. Ian has mentioned coming together to mark the Year of Compassion, which of course is a year-long global initiative inaugurated on the 6th of July 2025 to commemorate the 90th birthday of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. The initiative seeks to honour his lifelong dedication to compassion, peace and universal human values, and to encourage individuals and communities worldwide to embody these principles through concrete actions and meaningful engagement. These are significant aims, and this celebration is about commemorating and recognising His Holiness's exemplary contribution as a global advocate of compassion, humility and non-violence, with the central aim of the initiative being to inspire people across nations to cultivate compassion, tolerance, forgiveness and mutual assistance, thereby strengthening the moral and ethical foundations of our society. And of course, in view, as has been mentioned, of the increasing prevalence of conflict and division, the Year of Compassion underscores the Dalai Lama's message of interreligious harmony and universal responsibility, emphasising compassion as a unifying principle capable of fostering peace and understanding. And I can think of no better place to celebrate that than right here at the Great Stupa of Universal Compassion. I have been an avid supporter of this beautiful place for a very long time, and I have been very proud to be the local member, as I have watched with great sort of excitement to see the Great Stupa rise from the ground. It has been a long, long journey, and here we are today celebrating such a beautiful, beautiful building, but also what the Stupa stands for. It is so much more than just a tourist attraction, even though it is a very significant tourist attraction. It is a place of peace, of calm, of reflection and inclusiveness, and its history speaks to that. We have the beautiful gardens here that celebrate all religions and diversity across not just the Bendigo West electorate, but indeed across the whole of Victoria. It is never lost on me that Victoria proudly stands as one of the most diverse and inclusive societies anywhere in the world, and we should never forget that. Victoria is home to people from more than 200 countries, speaking over 260 languages and practicing 135 faiths. And this diversity is advanced by respect, contribution, and shared values. Our strength lies in our shared commitment to equality, to inclusion, and to empowerment. The Victorian Government remains firmly committed to supporting our multicultural communities, to strengthening social cohesion and ensuring every Victorian feels respected, included, and empowered. So today's symposium demonstrates the leadership of faith and community, of community organisations, and of those community organisations fostering understanding and unity. And it's in that spirit that this gathering stands as a reminder of what thriving communities look like. Grounded in tradition, both open and welcoming, and respectful and cohesive. We are living in a world that is changing rapidly. It is becoming increasingly marked by suffering, polarisation, and mistrust. It is essential to reaffirm that all sentient beings are deserving of care, respect, and compassion. Beginning this year, individuals and communities are invited to renew their commitment to compassion, to forgiveness, to tolerance, and to service. So my sincere thanks once again go to the Great Stupa of Universal Compassion for hosting this meaningful birthday celebration and symposium. And thank you to all for the contributions that you make, culturally, socially, and spiritually, to our great state. And may the teachings of His Holiness the Dalai Lama remind us that compassion, as mentioned before, is not a weakness, but a profound strength. And that compassion is the cornerstone of inner peace, social justice, and the creation of a more harmonious and humane world. So I hope that you enjoy being with our Buddhist leaders, with scholars and community representatives to explore this year's theme through prayer, dialogue, and shared wisdom. It can only benefit our whole community. Thank you so much for inviting me today. Thank you.
Thank you for your inspiring words, Maree Edwards. We would like to present you a gift to recognize your presence and participation in this special day. Our keynote speaker for today is Geshe Lhakdor. Geshe Lhakdor is the director of the Library of Tibetan Works and Archives. He served as His Holiness the Dalai Lama's official translator for 16 years. In 1982, he received his master's degree in English from Punjab University in Chandigarh and Master of Philosophy from Delhi University. He received his Geshe degree from Drepung Loseng Monastic University in 1995. He has worked as a co-translator of several books by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the notable among which are The Way to Freedom, The Joy of Living and Dying in Peace, Awakening the Mind and Lightening the Heart, and The Stages of Meditation. Please welcome Geshe Lhakdor to the stage.
Good morning. Whenever I use this word, good morning, I consider it as a great teaching because nobody says bad morning or bad evening, good morning. So it's not enough to say good morning, but we should be good the whole morning, the whole evening, the whole day, and so on and so forth. Great teaching. It's really a great pleasure that during this, my speaking tour in Australia has coincided with this great gathering. I should really not use the word coincidence, but it's something ripening of positive result. As already mentioned, the replica or the copy made here of Gyaltsen Pelgun Chode is a great stupa in Tibet, in the place called Gyaltsen, in the 15th century. A big stupa with, I think, 9 stories. It's also sometimes called Kumbum, a stupa which houses more than 100,000 statues and plus chapels and so many things. So it's almost unthinkable that to create the same thing here. So I really like to first of all thank Ian Green and all those behind him to be able to materialize such a huge project, which I consider not only a place for the gathering of Buddhists, as is indicated by the name Universal Compassion. I wish that this will become a peace place, a place of solitude, harmony, reflection, to start with the local people. And in this case, I really like to thank Ian and his father and families who donated such large part of land, and of course everybody. Needless to say, it's human nature that we always have conflicts and disagreements, but because of the availability of awful destructive weapons, nuclear warheads, ballistic missiles, so on and so forth, we are really going through almost like a crisis. And the result of that crisis is, of course, death and destruction. And our Buddhist communities can really contribute much, because in Buddhism there is a teaching which says you don't have to kill people, they'll die. As simple as that. And I've always reminded people that we are human beings. Before we consider ourselves as a particular, follower of a particular religion, we are human beings, number one. Dogs are dogs, no problem. Cows are cows, no problem. The problem is, are humans humans? It's questionable, really questionable. So it's really important to, first of all, become a good human being, which does not make any distinction on the basis of color, creed, religion, man, women, black, white, and so forth. And there is a lot of reasons for that. One, when we are born, the first thing that we do is crying, not laughing, not smiling. And by crying, the child is asking for something. And I'm 100% sure the child is not asking for a lengthy discourse on Buddhism or thereby any religion, 100% sure. So we must learn from that. Don't forget that you are, first of all, a human being, not a Buddhist, not a Christian. Human being. We are forgetting that. The more and more we get the so-called education in our universities and other centers of learning, many times it seems the more and more we are going away from the real human being. We focus more on our own particular religion, our own particular family. And the reason is because you have, right from the birth, you have this very strong grasping of I, me, and mine. You consider yourself as the center of the universe, and others are peripheral, not so important. And now, scientifically it is proved that people who talk too much about I, me, and mine are prone to all kinds of illnesses, including heart attack. And in Buddhism, of course, this grasping to self is said to be the most fundamental ignorance, from where crops all other negative emotions like anger, hatred, jealousy, and so forth. I don't have much time to give a lengthy discourse, but I really wanted to remind you some important things. Ignorance, number one, is the root cause of all problem. Second, inaction is This is my addition. Not only ignorance, but sometimes we have some kind of knowledge, but we never apply. So inaction is the second source of the problem. So we need to now focus about understanding this ignorance. In Buddhism, when we say ignorance is source of all problem, we are saying that if you are able to understand things as it is, not how you like it, as it is. As it is means, if you look at the law of nature, as it is, the sun does not make discrimination. The air does not make discrimination. The water does not make discrimination. Sunshine is available for everybody. And who is making the discrimination? Stupid human beings. Discrimination means going against the law of nature. Law of nature says we are all same. We are born in the same way, as I mentioned. We will die in the same way. And that's why the first teaching that the Buddha gave us on impermanence and death. So these days I tell people, please be careful, please be aware that right now we have over 8 billion human population. And all this over 8 billion human population are dead after 100 years counting from today. I'm not saying they will be killed by ballistic missiles or nuclear bombs. Unfortunately, they are all there too quick in the process. But even otherwise, our lifespan is around 100. Right? And those of us, I sometimes jokingly tell people, when I say we are all dead after 100 years, I'm trying to be nice and giving you a big discount. Right? We are not going to live 100 years in our case. Again here, this is a very important gathering, so I'll really give you a big discount. And then say, okay, we'll live another 60 years after giving big discount. So in the remaining 60 years, half of it you spend sleeping. Then you spend a lot of time eating, running up and down. Where is the time to make this human life meaningful? This precious human life meaningful. So precious human life means we have this amazing language. As I mentioned, problems, conflicts are bound to arise because of ignorance. But when such conflicts arise, use this human language for negotiation, for dialogue, discuss. We are not tigers and lions. If there is a disagreement between tiger and lion, they cannot say, let us sit down and solve the problem through negotiation, dialogue. They don't have the language. So therefore, only thing they can do is jump upon each other and try to tear each other apart. We are doing exactly like that. Not only that, we use horrible weapons of mass destruction. Still we call ourselves intelligent human beings. Please tell me, where is your intelligence? It's really awful. Some of these miscreants, to some extent they are object of compassion, but they are destroying everybody. This short life is for enjoying, for living in peace, in harmony, in sharing compassion. In one of the Buddhist teaching it says, if you don't have compassion, the very foundation of your religious practice is rotten. Rotten. So when we say compassion, compassion means how nice if all sentient beings, not only human beings, how nice if all sentient beings are without suffering. And as you already mentioned, much of the suffering is unnecessary suffering. Unnecessary because they are created by stupid human beings. This division, killing, exploitation, bullying, horrible, horrible. So therefore it is responsibility of all of us, believer or non-believer, especially in the case of believer. Sometimes even religions become source of division. My religion is best. How can you say your religion is best? And His Holiness the Dalai Lama said, if you ask which religion is best in the world, it's a stupid question. It's like asking which medicine is best. You cannot just pick up one medicine and say this is best because it's pricey. It may be pricey, but if it does not cure your illness, it is useless. So for you, that particular medicine which cures your illness is best, but by that you cannot say this medicine is best for everybody. So similarly, a particular religion may be best for you. By that you cannot say it's best for everybody. For some people, if there is a greater God, better for them. For some people, self-responsibility is better. Right? So there are differences in terms of philosophical terms. But the purpose and message of all these philosophical teachings of different religions is love, compassion, patience, tolerance, and to be able to see everybody with the same love, same compassion, with the knowledge that they are all going to die. They all have ignorance. They all are suffering. So your perspective should be one that is in accordance with the law of nature, which is impermanence, which is interdependent origination. So therefore, to sum up, anybody watching my time? Huh? Tell me, please. I can't see you properly. Okay, thank you so much. Because I don't want to overstay, there are other speakers. So therefore, love, compassion, kindness, these are the most precious human qualities. It is not money. We all need money. We all need material facilities. But in the case of material facilities, the material objects, however great they may be, they have limitation. Right? So therefore, this is a very important point. In terms of material development, we need to think carefully how much development you need and how much development you can make. Right? Every country thinks there should be GDP growth every year. What do you mean by GDP growth? You are talking about material growth. Material growth or physical growth. Anything that is physical has by definition limitation. How can you make unlimited progress from limited resources? And because of this unchecked greed for unlimited material development, we are destroying the sources. Look at the environment. The sources of material development are forest, minerals. They are all now depleting. There is environmental catastrophe that we are facing today. Look at all the major, indeed, the capital cities of the world. Majority of them are polluted. The water is polluted, air is polluted, and of course, these pollutions came because people living there, their mind is polluted. Right? And I have very often said that COVID-19 was a horrible experience, but that is nothing compared to the environmental destruction. Through continuous environmental destruction, if there is a shortage of water, I don't think there is a vaccine. So it's a question of life and death. And because of our own mismanagement of resources and misdoing, we are today experiencing global suicide. Global suicide. And all these 100,000 different problems that we are experiencing today are clear indication of starvation of human mind. Starvation of human mind. Starvation of human mind. I repeat this many times. Clear indication of starvation of human mind. For our body, we feed it as much as possible. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, in between Kit Kat, whatever. So many things. Right? And even there we are not good because now we are eating junk food and quick in the process of your death. This is all happening because of ignorance. But at least we are feeding something. And what are you giving for your mind? What kind of food you are giving to your mind? Not much. hardly anything. And what you are giving to the mind is information. Again here we proudly say, oh, we are living in the age of information, not realizing that much of the information that you are experiencing is junk information. Junk information. Therefore, what we really need is wisdom, not junk information. Wisdom. Some kind of right information is needed. Based on that, we need knowledge. And more important, we need wisdom. Knowledge is like teaching you how to build a ship. But it is wisdom that ensures the ship does not sink. So we hardly have wisdom, unfortunately. And that wisdom comes through the threefold process of listening, contemplation, and meditation. Today, many people talk about meditation, mindfulness, and so forth. This is absolutely important. But not many people are talking about shamefulness, consideration for others, heedfulness. Again, there are many subjects that is taught in Buddhism which we are not paying attention. So it is highly, highly important for one's own inner peace and for the peace of the society, family, everybody. You need to, number one, realize, I have a very limited life. This life must be spent to bring more smile on the face of others, more harmony. And to do that, you need to lessen your ego, I, all the time. Right? So therefore, now I conclude, although I did not see this sign anywhere. but I conclude by saying, whether you call it love, whether you call it kindness, whether you call it compassion, love is a quality that the blind can see and the deaf can hear. Somebody who has genuine love, genuine compassion, like His Holiness Dalai Lama, just by the presence of that person, you can feel it. That's what we need. We don't need people, we don't need arms to kill others. We need people who reduce suffering, reduce problems, extend a helping hand. This long arm is for hugging, not for hitting. These nice fingers are for shaking hand, not for hitting. If it is for hitting, then right from the birth, we should have hand without these fingers, boxing ready to hit. Right? So if you look at your whole structure of the body, the way your eye looks, the way the beautiful teeth you have, and then as I mentioned, this beautiful hand, everything, if you study carefully, these are for non-violent, compassionate purposes. Then why the hell human beings have become the greatest source for destruction? Because we misused our intelligence. Our intelligence get corrupted. Instead of using it for compassion and love, we are using it for violence, division, segregation, and so forth. So therefore, I urge everybody that spend the rest of our life in compassion, in love. Even if you are not able to help many, at least make sure you help 10 people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My name is Barb Rosmus. I'm a librarian here at the Stupa. And I have this question coming through my mind now for quite some time. So, Geshe, you were talking about compassion being the most important thing in our lives. And I totally agree. Then you show the compassion to someone who has the wrong view, who is trying to achieve things through physical power, maybe people in the political sphere making decisions and just pushing through rather than, consider other people's faith as being, in the same position, brothers and sisters. So what is the way to go? How can we make a breakthrough or, begin to change the view of the people who are, well, we know not doing any good, going wrong direction?
This is a very important question. So here we need to be realistic. Number one, in Buddhism we never say there is push button enlightenment. Right? But this does not mean there is no solution. So the solution is the process of our education system has to change. The answer is not saying studying Buddhism, no. We are not asking everybody to become Buddhist. That's not our job. The process is education system must be proper. Right now, education means basically literacy. Reading, writing, mathematics, getting piece of paper, get a job, that's it. So education should be for human flourishing. The product of education should be people who know how to respect others, who know how to live happily, who know how to help others when they are in trouble, when they are suffering. That kind of education should be there. So it is through this long-term project process, but of course we all have to work very hard. We cannot just wait and say, oh, one day it will come. No. That's the process, but we have to work doubly or triply hard so that we are able to produce leaders who have compassion, who have genuine compassion and love. But unfortunately right now, all the power is in the hand of some leaders, especially the top leaders, whose concern is how to continuously stay on the chair and have no compassion. Forget about other people, but even for their own people, they don't have their love and compassion. So that's why rich becoming richer and richer, poor people becoming poorer and poorer. And especially the so-called technological development, including artificial intelligence, ChatGPT. I don't have great experience on that, but with a little study from the Industrial Revolution until the electronic age, there are many good things also. But so long as the person who is using and producing this, they are without concern, without love, without affection, these gadgets will only become a source for distraction, completely distracted outside. You go more and more outside, nothing inside. And it is because of this we have how many people, educated people, they are suffering from loneliness, depression, low self-esteem. Big list. Nurses and doctors are suffering from work fatigue, emotional fatigue, even empathy fatigue. So therefore, from the Buddhist viewpoint, we say empathy is good, but more than empathy, we need compassion. Empathy, as is described, is feeling other people's pain and sitting there, the other person suffering, you're also still suffering, and watching in a way helplessly. Compassion is not just feeling other people's pain, but compassion is action. When you do your little bit, you will not suffer from empathy fatigue or compassion fatigue, because you realize, yes, that was the small thing I can do, but I did it, and then you feel inspired to do more. Right? So therefore, my answer to your great question is, there should be long-term strategy, but we need to work like soldiers. We can't wait. And unfortunately, these days, soldiers have really many great, inspiring things around them. Smart guns, smart uniform, smart badges, and peace workers, nothing. But we should not get discouraged, because when we see all this death and destruction and big conflict, we sometimes feel, and in fact this all becomes news, we feel discouraged. But I tell them, look, like for example this particular place, in one day in Bendigo maybe 1 or 2 persons have some problem, maybe occasionally 1 person killed, right? But the rest, the majority, the children are treated with love and compassion by the families in the home. Sick people are treated in the hospitals with love and compassion. Kind of love and compassion, not genuine, that's the problem, but we have. So majority of the people, they are nice people. They're well-meant people, but they don't have the power. So we need to empower those people. And then also, voting time. And also, we should practice Mahatma Gandhi's teaching, non-cooperation. Anybody, business people, leaders, when they are doing bad things, that at least you can don't cooperate. For example, if there is a very, harmful product coming from the market, we all have the capacity to say, no, I'm not going to use it. And if everybody does that, that product will come to an end easily. So we need this kind of consensus, working together, and the solution will be there.
Thank you, Geshe. Your wonderful words and inspiration. I have a question. I lived for 20 years in South Korea at a time when it was very poor, in the 70s through to the late 90s. And I found the Buddhism there was really quite a revolution for me, It was very active, engaged. Many were ordaining as monastic. And recently, when I go back every 2 years to visit, I've noticed that the great decline of those ordaining, and also something about the monastics' inability, really, from my perspective, to reach out in a little bit more of some sort of engaged interest, and even acknowledging a lot of what is happening seems to be reduced. They're very focused in their Buddhist realm. But I had a nun stay with me for a month, and I realized her capacity was very limited and quite self-focused. Great scholar, great academic, and a great teacher, but not the capacity to actually do a lot for others, yes. Can you speak a little bit? You might be seeing this across the realm.
As I mentioned, source of our problem is ignorance plus inaction, as I mentioned earlier. So from the monastic sides also, if you are somebody who is totally dedicated to your inner spiritual development, I'm saying totally, then of course you need place of solitude, even go into the mountain. That's almost like exception. For the majority of us, we need to be active. You should not say, I'm just a monk and nun, my job is to stay in the monastery, do some prayer. Prayer is very important. But we cannot solve the world's problem just by prayer. Look at the situation of the Tibet. Strong, almost 95% Buddhist, practicing Buddhism. Lost our country because we were not doing things. We are not practical. So there are many cases from where we can learn. In South Korea also I visited, I think at least 3-4 times. So if you look at the story, more and more Christianity is coming because they are doing. I'm not bothered who is coming, who is going. I'm not making any distinction, but what I'm saying is we should learn from our Christian brothers and sisters. Doing, helping the sick people, opening hospitals, and especially the very purpose, the ordained monk means not just shaving head and wearing some cloth. Ordained monks and nuns means people who have very less thing to do for themselves. Not much purpose. So their purpose and activity should be for others. If you are somebody having a family member, children, you cannot go everywhere because you have to look after your wife, your children, so many things. Monks and nuns don't have to do that. So we have this very special opportunity to go around in the society and inspire them. It's not just talking. You cannot say, you cannot teach like the attainment of nirvana and enlightenment for hungry people. The first thing is you need to. So therefore in Buddhism we have this teaching called 4 ways of collecting disciples, or followers. One is giving things. First is giving things, what they need. And once you really help them, giving means not just material gift, but dharma gift, whatever. Once you give these gifts to others, they will be very close to your way of thinking. And when they come close to you and trust you, then speak pleasantly. That means then you give the dharma teaching. It is not enough to give the Dharma teaching, you should also live in accordance with the Dharma teaching, otherwise they will say, oh, he's just talking, look at him or her, this is how they are living, right? So first you give them something, then give the teaching, then ask them to live in accordance with the teaching. And then, in order to help others to do the same thing, you should first be the example, doing the things, not just talking.
Your comments and observations today in the world, the violence and destruction, the main perpetrators seem to be men and males. That's my scene. You watch the news, the world leaders who are males are the ones at war. Where are the women in the leaders of the world today?
So that's why people like His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, they say, your mother is your first teacher. The so-called teachers come later. Your mother or the caregiver, especially the mother, is your first teacher. And as you rightly mentioned, yes, in ancient system, everywhere it's a male-dominated country, place, because of their physical power, right? Now when we talk about spiritual development, getting education, there is no men and women. And especially when we talk about the development of compassion, women are much more ready to come and develop. So in my own case, in many of my talks, Buddhist talks, majority of the people who attend the talks are women. So they have this really being mother who had taken care of their children. They know what is love, what is compassion, the importance of it. Right? And their love, their compassion that they give to the children is genuine love and genuine compassion. And I've often wondered that I've never heard a mother, maybe one or two, but generally speaking, I never heard mother suffering from compassion fatigue, having to look after the children. Because they have genuine compassion. And that is not to say that their job is easy. Day and night they have to look after their children. Right from the time when the child is in the womb, then after birth, at least until 12, 15, the mother has to look after that. But that love is a genuine love. Therefore they don't suffer from empathy fatigue or genuine fatigue. Although I cannot say their love is perfect, as is taught in Buddhism, but it's a very good example. So we should all try to respect and learn from the mothers and give them more platform, make them leaders. Not necessarily everybody is good, but there will be better opportunity, better chance, yeah.
Mine is that I feel that some of us are given the gift of knowing what's happening in education and things, and it is quite scary that through our government forces and our political forces in Australia, I'm only talking about my knowledge here as an educator, that a lot of the top end of the choices of what our children are being educated with, and our teenagers, the documents, the books, the things that are coming out now that are integrated with AI, are done without much reflection. And it's it's become a monopoly, and it's being hidden from the people, and it's quite devastating as a mother to know that this is what's happening. And the same is happening in our economic world from overseas. Things are coming in that are taking over our economic daily choices of money and being able to feed our children through this money, give them a good life. And it is beyond the ordinary person's realm of control. So I'm very enlightened lately to see that the young people are stepping forward and taking some action in if someone's being accosted, they're helping. and they are giving their life, as we've had in Victoria in the last couple of weeks. And it is enlightening to see this giving of one's life, which is extreme, to help another. So I see so much light is starting to come through example. However, we have a lot of people that are crying no matter what their age in Australia, and they're crying because of food, lack of being able to give their family what they should because we've been spoiled, and poverty. And poverty and people coming over that have been in traumatic situations and poverty. And that makes a lot of people make the wrong choices. So we have people going into fear. How can we, as an ordinary person, help people that are fearful because of their life situation?
Yeah. But here I really want to emphasize the fact by saying that if you want to help others, first help yourself. First help yourself. And we need to know helping oneself is helping others. Helping others is helping oneself. Right? And you need to have this some understanding of the Buddhist teaching of transience and impermanence. Sometimes when we face some challenge, difficulty, we tend to think that it will be there forever. No. In my case also, I do occasionally get feeling like as you had felt. But then I console myself, law of nature is there to take care. Some of these ruthless dictators, their days are numbered. I'm not saying they will be killed or we should kill them. I'm not saying that. Their age is how long they are going to live. Try as much as they can. They will not be able to live beyond 90 or 100. They'll all go. Right? So therefore, however difficult the situation is, we should never lose our determination and courage. Because when we talk about transforming the world, somebody very nicely said, yesterday I was clever, I wanted to change the world. Today I'm wise, I'm changing myself. The very English word individual means individual part of the whole, the world. So the individuals don't play a part, the whole will crumble. The only problem is because of our ignorance, we are colluding with the wrongdoers. The bad food that is coming in the market, we can say, all these bad products. But who are the people who are using it? So by using that, by not saying no, we are colluding with these people. So similarly, war and killing, all these things, we are colluding indirectly or directly. So we should learn to say no to bad things. Never ever cooperate with those things. And then you should, of course, need to develop more awareness among other people, because one person cannot bring much change. More awareness. That's why we say, when we teach secular ethics, we say awareness, compassion, engagement. If awareness is not there, compassion will not arise. If I'm really aware that all these people are going to die, when nobody knows, maybe some of them gone tomorrow. Don't get frightened. This is the reality. When I know this, then even if that other person shows like arrogance and so many, I know, okay, I'm sorry, I know who you are. You don't know yourself, so therefore you're so arrogant, so puffed up. But I still have compassion for you. So if you have this genuine understanding, whoever they are, billionaire, Hollywood actor, Bollywood actress, king, president, you feel sorry for them. And His Holiness very clearly mentioned that our ordinary so-called compassion is not genuine compassion. And he gave a beautiful example by saying that the fact that our ordinary so-called compassion is not genuine is because when we see some downtrodden poor people, we do develop some kind of feeling and compassion. But as soon as we see some rich people, moving in a Mercedes car, glamorous actor, actress, things like that, there's no trace of compassion. Instead, you'll think, how nice if I'm also able to live with them. Or at least if I get their signature. Not knowing that they're on the same situation. Their days are also numbered. They also have their problems. Once you see this, high, low, doesn't matter. We are in the same cycle of existence.
Thank you, Geshe Lhakdor, for sharing your wisdom. Can you please give him a round of applause to thank him? For those of you who have more questions for Geshe Lhakdor, he will be back on the question panel towards the later part of the program. So please write those questions you have in your phone notes, and you'll have an opportunity to present those questions again. So now we have come to a lunch break. Welcome to the second part of the symposium. Now we will have the presentation of 3 very special Sangha members from different backgrounds and traditions. And they will each share their views on compassion to world peace from their different experiences. Each speaker will have 20 minutes to present their ideas, and we will close with a group panel, joining the 3 of them, and we will have the opportunity to ask questions. So for this part, we are joined by Most Venerable Kallanchiye Rathanasiri Thero and Chief Incumbent of Abhayagiri Mahaviharaya in Anuradhapura, coming from Sri Lanka, and Venerable Ronrawee, President of Dhammakaya Communities in Australia, representative from the Thai community, and Venerable Kwang Sunim, Abbess of the Sion Center in Korea. Venerable Dr. Kallanchiye Rathanasiri Thero is a senior lecturer in Pali language, attached to the Department of Buddhist and Pali Studies in Bhiksu University of Sri Lanka. He was the former director of the Unit of Postgraduate External Degrees and Extension Courses in the same university. He has completed his doctorate in philosophy from the University of Wuhan in China. Thank you, Venerable Kallanchiye Thero. Please make him feel welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much, Maree. I would like to give my gratitude to Mr. Ian Green, who was the director of this great Stupa, to invite me to present this and participate in this symposium. Most venerable monks, nuns, and ladies and gentlemen, and most scholars and others. This symposium topic was Buddhist path of compassion to world peace. I can see so many Theravada monks, and the Mahayana monks, and Tibetans and other land in Vietnam, Sri Lanka, India, and other scholars also participated this symposium. This is according to our Theravada tradition in Sri Lanka. Normally, in compassion, in Sri Lankan words, we say Karuna. In Pali language also Karuna. In Sanskrit language also we can in Karuna. It is the very popular words in Sri Lanka. Because of within my presentation, then we will express what is the importance that compassion. Because of normally earlier our Tibetan Rinpoche say Karuna is Karuna is the Lama's vision also. According to our Sri Lankan tradition, there is 4 kind of things normally we say in Brahmavihara in Sri Lankan, and some Sanskrit also say Brahmavihara. Metta, Karuna, mudita, upekkha. This is the parents have a very big power. So our Lord Buddhas have like that 4 kinds of Brahmaviharas. In the ancient time, India, like that in Brahmavihara is the Brahma who was created that world. He has like this 4 kind of things. But our Lord Buddha say, Metta, Karuna, mudita, upekkha have only the mother and father. So this compassion is very important topic. This presentation examines how the Buddhist concept of compassion, in Pali word Karuna, function as an ethical and philosophical foundation for achieving global peace. In Buddhist thought, peace is not merely the absence of conflict, but the result of the profound moral and psychological transformation of the human mind. Modern society faces numerous challenges, including war, structural violence, ecological crisis, and social inequality. Buddhism offers a moral framework centered on compassion and wisdom that addresses both the internal roots of conflicts and its external manifestations. The Buddha repeatedly emphasized that social peace begins with the mental purifications. Concept of compassion in Buddhism. The Pali word Karuna literally means the trembling of the heart in response to suffering. It refers to 3 categories: deep empathy, the wise to elevated suffering, active concern for the welfare of others. Compassion is not passive sympathy, but an ethical motivation to reduce suffering. In Buddhist psychology, compassion arises from the understanding that all beings share the universal experience of dukkha, suffering. The Brahmaviharas are the 4 sublime status cultivated in Buddhist meditation. Metta, Karuna, mudita, upekkha. Metta, loving kindness. Karuna is compassion. Mudita, sympathetic joy. And upekkha is the equanimity. The Buddha described these are appamanya, the Pali word is, in English means boundless states. Reference Chattaro ime bhikkhave Brahmavihara. In Anguttara Nikaya we can see these states cultivate universal ethical consciousness that transcends discrimination. Scriptural foundation, Metta Sutta, normally in Sri Lanka we say in Kallanchiye Metta Sutta. Kallanchiye Metta Sutta expresses the universal dimension of compassion. Sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta. May all beings be happy. This verse reflects a radical ethical universalism in which compassion extends to all living beings without exceptions. Compassion in early Buddhism. The Buddha highlights the reciprocal nature of compassion. Atthanam rakkanto paran rakkati. Paran rakkanto atthanam rakkati. Protecting oneself, who protects others. Protecting others, one protects oneself. In Samyutta Nikaya, we can see in Samyutta Nikaya. This illustrates a profound ethic inside personal well-beings and collective well-beings are inseparable. Non-violence as the basis of peace. One of the most famous Buddhist teachings on peace appears in the Dhammapada. It is very important books in Theravada tradition, Dhammapada. Most of the very famous stanza, Nahi verena verani sammanti da kudachana averena cha sammanti esa dhammosano. This is the meaning of the hatred is never appeased by hatred. Hatred is appeased only by non-hatred in Dhammapada. This verse presents non-violence, ahimsa, as the fundamental principle for the resolving conflicts. In earlier, in Japanese war, in Second World War, after that San Francisco Peace Committee, our former President, J.R. Jayawardena, he says that stanza in Nahi Vere and after that Second World War finished and gives some forgiveness for the Japanese people also. Interdependence and global ethics. The doctrine of Paticca Samuppada, dependent origination, explain that all phenomena arise through conditions. Imasminsati idang hoti, imassa utpada idang uppajati in Pali language. When this exists, that arises in Samyutta Nikaya. This principle implies interdependence among all beings. They are therefore harming others, ultimately perpetuating suffering within the entire system of existence. The Bodhisattva ideal. In Mahayana Buddhism, compassion reaches its highest expression in the Bodhisattva ideal. The Bodhisattva vows to postpone personal liberation until all beings are liberated. This reflects the ethical commitment expressed in the Buddha's mission. Bahujana hitaya, bahujana sukhaya, atta hitaya deva manussaya in Pali language, for the welfare of the many, for the happiness of the many, in Vinaya Mahavagga Pali. Compassion and wisdom. In Mahayana philosophy, prajna, wisdom, and the karuna, compassion, function together. Wisdom perceives the reality of sunyata, in emptiness, understanding that all phenomena lack independence existence. Compassion arises naturally from this insight because one recognizes the interconnectedness of all beings. Compassion and social harmony. The normal Eightfold Path provides practical guidance for ethical conduct. Key components include, there's 8 kind of things, but this is, I suggest this compassion is very important. So there's 3 things is very important. In Pali language we say samma vacha, samma kammanta, samma ajiva. Samma vacha means right speech, samma kammanta is right action, samma ajiva is right livelihood. These ethical disciplines establish trust and social stability, which are essential conditions for peaceful societies. Buddhist peace philosophy. Buddhism emphasizes that the peace begins with mental cultivation through meditation practice such as samatha in calm meditation and the vipassana insight meditation. Practitioners develop emotional regulations, awareness, compassion. This inner transformation reduces the psychological roots of violence. Compassion in Buddhist leadership. Buddhist political thoughts promotes the ideal of the Dhammaraj, a ruler who governs according to the Dhamma. Historical example is Dharmasoka, Emperor Dharmasoka in 3rd century BC, who promoted the non-violence, religious tolerance, moral governance. His inscription emphasizes compassion towards both human and animal also. Environmental compassion. Buddhist ethics extend compassion beyond humanity. The first precept states in Sri Lanka normally, starting time normally we observe every people to 5 precepts. It is the first precept is the Panatipata Veramani Sikkhapadan Samadhi. It means I undertake the precept to abstain from taking life. This principle encourages ecological responsibility and respect for all forms of life, human and animal also. Dialogues and reconciliation. Compassion enables genuine dialogues across cultural and religious boundaries. Buddhist teachings emphasize listening with empathy, non-judgment, peaceful communication. These principles are crucial for conflict resolution and reconciliations. Modern Buddhist leaders have emphasized the global relevance of compassion. The Dalai Lama frequently states love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries. Without them, humanity cannot survive. Similarly, developed the concept of engaged Buddhism, applying Buddhist ethics to social activism, compassion and psychological transformation. Meditative practices such as Metta Bhavana and Karuna Bhavana systematically cultivate compassion. Modern psychological studies show that compassion meditation increases empathy, reduces aggressions, improves emotional well-being. Thus, Buddhist contemplative practices have scientific relevance. Path from individual to global peace. The Buddhist path suggests progressions, inner peace of the individual, harmony in relationships, ethical societies, global peace. As the Buddha teaches, Chittena niyati loko. It is the Pali words. Its meaning is the world is led by the mind. Challenges and future directions. Despite its relevance, several challenges remain. Structural violence, political conflicts, environmental crisis. Integrating compassion into policy, education, and international relations could contribute significantly to global peace. In Buddhist philosophy, compassion is not merely an emotion, but a transformative ethical practice. The cultivation of Karuna, supported by wisdom and ethical discipline, Sila, provide the practical pathway towards sustainable world peace. Thank you so much. Triple James bless you.
And now I'd like to introduce Venerable Kwang Sunim. She's born in 1953 in Western Australia. She graduated from Curtin University in Fine Arts from 1977 to late 1979 at Wise Man's Ferry, north of Sydney. She joined the English monk Pra Kantipalo and his student in co-founding and establishing Wat Buddha Dhamma Monastery. She was ordained as a bhikkhuni in South Korea, traditionally trained in Sion meditation and sutra studies over the next 17 years. Then in 1998, an invitation brought her home to establish the Sion Buddhist Retreat House in Kinglake since 1993. Kwang Sunim had co-founded several other Buddhist centres and organisations, like the Buddhist Library of New South Wales, the Australian Sangha Association, the Federation of Australian Buddhist Councils, Sakyadhita International and Sakyadhita Australia. Venerable Kwang Sunim continues to teach and mentor nuns on various paths and in Mansa Temple in Korea, and she returns biannually to Korea to pay her respects to her old teachers and aging monastic siblings and taking time out to have retreat. Please put your hands together for Venerable Kwang Sunim.
I would like to pay respects to Geshe Lhakdor, and all the other venerable who are here, venerable monks and nuns, some who are old friends, Ian Green and his wife, and all of those who have worked tirelessly on this project for almost as long as I've known him, but at least 25 years. Extraordinary and absolutely fabulous. So well done, Ian, and all those who've worked with you. And also I'd like to pay my respects to everyone here and all of those who have given your support and your time over all these years to produce what we have in front of us, where we're all sitting. So today, I was looking at some notes. I put a few together very late last night. But I think I'm going to talk a little bit because it is about how our life and practice can contribute something in this world, this very unpredictable place we call home, unpredictable timeline of how long we'll be here. And also, for many of you who've practiced meditation and Buddhism for as many years as myself, I think it's my 47th year this year, so I celebrated it. Yeah, thank you. I celebrated it with a very dear nun friend who ordained 3 years before me. So she's 3 years younger, and she's been 50 years this year. So we've just spent a month together and pondering on our lives as Buddhist nuns. She is a scholar, a teacher, an academic who has been a lecturer at Unmunsa University, monastic nuns university in Korea for 38 years. And my path was initially more in line with the meditation. So I'll just give us a slight streamline of that because it's integral how different times in your life reflect different aspects of your cultivation and what you then give in that time to others and how your wisdom and your compassion grow. It all depends on how you give yourself to cultivation. So in my very first 2 years, where circumstances led me to Korea, I was working very hard to establish a monastery with Kanti Palo, an English monk, and someone who became Ayakema, so the nuns may know that name. But she became a very well-known writer and Theravada Buddhist nun. And I was the attendant and the worker, did the building, the cooking, the driving the monks here and there. So that was a very important foundation of establishing roots as a novice, a pre-novice at that time, where you're giving yourself 100% to the circumstance at hand in a complete way that is a very selfless way. You know, I didn't know much about Buddhism. I was learning about meditation, but I did know I had certain skills that could benefit the community and definitely benefit the monastic. And that is what led me, the seed and the fledgling plant, you might say, led me to have a dream. I was a monk in Korea in grey, which led me on to Korea. And there I lived for 20 years. Now the first 4 years I was with an extraordinary master who is still my guru, you might say, my main guru, a monk by the name of Kwang Sunim, and he had a community of monks and nuns, Western monks and nuns, in the third main Buddhist monastery in Korea, Songkwangsa. And Songkwangsa has continued to have monastic come and stay there for periods of time, but at that time there was a lot, until he passed away in 1983, very suddenly, from a stroke. But in those first few years, I had gained enough insight and confidence in my meditation and an intention that I came here to become a bhikkhuni. I knew it was a past life connection with Songkwangsa because of what led me there. But more than that, I knew my teacher as a great person. As Geshe Lhakdor mentioned, we never know when those dear and near are going to go. And so we used every moment in a very precious way. I learned many things in that few years that sustained me for the next 16 years. And they built, after he passed away, they built a hermitage for nuns. But everybody left. They came for the teacher, They came for his teaching, but not for the monastic. And they left. And because I stayed, I had that opportunity for the next however many years to really deepen what I'd learned from my teacher in regard to what is the mind. You know, the basic Korean, how do they call it, is an inquiry, fundamentally all about what is mind. You know, who am I? What is mind? Mind was, you know, what is this? So this became an object of mind, you might say. And I still use this practice because what it does, it becomes a very sharp knife that cultivates not only what is good, but it also severs what is no longer of use and benefit. And there is this chant we do every morning. And it is, you know, though the many beings are numberless, I vow to save them. The 4 great vows in Mahayana and Zen Buddhism. Though the many beings are numberless, I vow to save them. Greed, hatred, and ignorance rise endlessly. I vow to cut them off. The Buddha Dharma is unfathomable. I vow to understand it. And the Buddha's way is beyond attainment, and I vow to embody it fully. Now these words, you know, they seem an impossible task. But as I started to grow the Bodhisattva, you may say, you know, we always had the Bodhisattva vows, and we had Bodhisattva teachings, and many of the texts reveal the path of the Bodhisattva. This is the path of the Bodhisattva in these great vows, because without them, we can never accomplish the actions we need to do to bring compassion, tolerance, and benefit to others and to ourselves. So the many beings, what are we talking about with the many beings? Infinite. But where do they come from? They arise within us, right here. They arise in every thought, in every action. There are beings affected by this. And for every one of us who have cultivated some practice, we realize in interaction, in the reflection with other, that there is nothing and no one outside. There cannot be. We create this world in our own image, to say, in our own mind. And there is a saying in the Avatamsaka Sutta, in a speck of dust is the whole universe. There was something I had found from a theory of fractional geometry by Benotti Mandelabrite. He says a tiny part of a fractional contains the whole structure. You know, when they look into a cell, they can know everything about that cell. This mirrors what is described here in the essence as the same to be the shape, it's the same to be in shape and colour from one tiny fractional to the whole universe. One tiny part is in part the whole universe. The same in one thought. We can create infinite possibility, infinite capacity. And I came to understand from my years of meditation, what I would do, I would sit, we had 2 retreats a year, 3-month retreats. I'd sit 3 months with the nuns and then 3 months in my hermitage. And the spring and autumn were times that I sometimes did social work, usually once a year, some form of social work. And once a year, I would go and study texts with the masters. So it was very I was a very fortunate person to have stayed on, because for 20 years I met so many wonderful teachers, ordinary people, beggars, and great high lamas, monks, and nuns, including my nun teacher. My nun teacher created the most extraordinary community and developed the system of training monastic in Korea. And it developed to have 250 nuns training. Started with 5 years and it was reduced to 4 years because many went on to university. And many went on to meditation halls. But she was a great scholar, a great calligrapher, a great everything, gardener, whatever. She had her hand in every single action of that temple, the buildings, the tiny little decoration, whatever it was. She would have a say in what was parks, the museum. Even now at 97, she still had a part in creating the museum. So somebody who's cultivated over a lifetime, their wisdom, you can ask, where does it go? Who does it go to? Does it go from this life to the next? Maybe in part. But in her case, it is there in the actions she has made of that place. So when I studied with her for a couple of years, I found, and I was teaching at the time, teaching at the monastery, I found being with her was the introduction to take my meditation experience, where I'd lived a lot on my own in the mountains, into everyday action. And a certain amount of that was developing systems of how we would have the nuns all take on a social work, whether it was with aged care, whether it was with the compassionate telephone line, with the orphanages. A nun who took on the orphanage or the aged care, they would take on one person and they looked after that person, for an older person until they passed on, and for an orphan for as long as that orphan wanted to be part of their life. And they help support them, they help educate them, they help nourish and give the elderly what they want. So I could see in these systems that they developed along with the education, along with the daily work of the temple, along with developing compassion within the community itself, that it went beyond the temple. It went out when they graduated into the world because of that level of not only education, not only textual understanding, but the ability to do and how to act in an appropriate way at the appropriate time. How to speak, how to walk, how to talk. You learn that in the first few months. But then how to do what is appropriate at any particular time is quite a developed skill. And that I learned when I came back to Australia. And I came back all enthusiastic to become a Zen master or whatever, make a temple and have students and practice and, find the way together. And what did I face? A bushfire. In 2009, a bushfire devastated the town I lived in. 1,000 houses were burnt. On our mountain, 49 people died. And not to mention all the trauma and suicides and the family breakups and the ongoing for, the next 15, 16 years. But what I did was I was invited to be a community rep. And for the next 7 years, along with doing my Buddhist work, I took on the role of working for the community in whatever capacity they asked. And there were many, many different roles. But, the roles that were sometimes the most difficult were the meeting roles, where you had to come together and everyone's screaming and wanting this and wanting that. And the governments had promised this and that, and of course, things didn't happen quite as quickly as they want, as life doesn't. But it taught me how to serve. Just serve, just be with people, just listen, just offer what was needed in that moment to that person in that situation. And I feel a tremendous amount of gratitude for these various developments, opportunities to develop in different ways in this life. And when I was 2, I was a wanderer. I was part of a kids' gang in a country town where I saw death at the age of 2, with one drowned, one got hit by a bus. Could have been me. But I knew life was precious from that age of 2. By the age of 12, my mother knew she couldn't get me to do anything she wanted. So we all have a path. We have innately within us capacity to do many things if we can open our heart to that. And I believe the healing of the world, and I've sat in many conferences, given papers here and there, I believe in healing the world, if coming from a heart that is healed, or a heart that's willing to heal, a mind that's willing to be open and learn, the situations come to us, the teachers come to us, not in necessarily the form we want. They may not be also calm and tremendous equanimous state of mind as my teacher, or my nun teacher who's very engaged, very energetic, but they come to us. Just in those last few minutes I think I have, there's a couple of points that I wanted to touch on. I'm glad I didn't read all these notes. It would have been very boring. But as we start to develop an inner collective mind, you might say, or a true mind, what's true in our heart? What's true in the Dhamma? It requires a lot of an inquiry. The imoko, or the what is this, is what takes me into the core of an inquiry at any time. Just still the mind, I go in there and I look, what is happening here? What is this about? So there is an inner penetration aspect and an interdependence aspect. We're all interdependent on conditions that have brought us together today. We're all interpenetrating in this moment from some aspect of what I've said that has made you reflect. We're all there together. In the Avatamsaka Sutra describes the cosmos as where nothing stands alone. Nothing is in excess and nothing is negated. It is always there, as it is, as Geshe has pointed out, as it is. And then how do we pick that up? How do we hold it? How do we nurture it if nurturing's needed? What do we give to that? To be angry, I hear so much anger from people about the war, but when you look into their lives, there's not a lot they're doing to help themselves in their own life. So this is important. Unconditional compassion. Without this, and we are harming ourselves, we are harming another. If we harm another, we are harming ourselves. It cannot be any other way. And I would just finish with a little story, which, as you see, I have all these notes, but I like to write notes when I think of things. This is a little story of a Korean. I've got a minute to tell my story, if I may. Hyunjong in 1552 visited his home village, and he wrote, After 30 years, I've returned to my home village. My people have died, homes have been destroyed, and the village is neglected. Yet, green mountains are still, stand still, and are silent. The spring skies darken. A single cry of the cockatoo comes faintly from afar. A row of boys and girls peer through the window. White-haired elderly neighbours ask my name. As soon as they know my birth name, tears flow. The dark grey heavens, like sea, reflect the moon at midnight. Up till 80 years, he was me. And now, after 80 years, I am he. It's a very profound poem. I can't elucidate it now, as time's a little gone, but what it's telling about is change. Our homelands are never going to be the same. I was in the city and I didn't know how to get out of one street into another. I think I've got 3 red lights, so I won't have any points left. The demerit points will be taken up. But it was a different city in a couple of years. You all know that. You can't move. But the mountains are there. The stupa is here. The gardens are growing beautifully. Every time I come, I'm in awe of what has been done in a short time. And everything's growing as it should. At some point, it will start to fade. Temples in Korea are emptying, as in other countries. My teacher said every year they ordained 60 to 65 nuns. Last year they ordained 10 in Korea. So places like this are what is going to keep people coming to the Dhamma. People like you sharing your wisdom, your own innate wisdom with others, will keep people wanting to know. And people like Geshe Lhakdor, I think they're a dying art. We're lost. We haven't got enough young, great teachers. Still, if you have the karma, you will meet one. So thank you for listening, and I wish you all the very best.
I'd like to introduce the next speaker, Venerable Ronrawee. Ajahn Ron. Venerable Ronrawee is the president of the Dhammakaya communities in Australia, Secretary General of the Union of Thai Sanghas in Oceania, Vice President of the Buddhist Federation of Australia. Venerable Ronrawee underwent 4 years of intensive monastic training in the Thai Theravada tradition and a Dhammakaya meditation technique that was rediscovered by Pra-Mongol Tengmuni. In 2000, he was assigned to Australia to help establish the Dhammakaya Temple, Sydney. 3 years later, in 2003, he founded the Dhammakaya Society of Victoria, which has since grown into a network of Dhammakaya communities across Australia under his leadership. He dedicates himself to collaborating with Buddhist temples, centres and communities throughout Australia, fostering unity, harmony and shared initiatives for the wider Buddhist community. His ongoing mission is to promote morality, meditation, wisdom and compassion, and to inspire the universal message of world peace through inner peace. Please put your hands together to welcome Venerable Ronrawee.
นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะพุทธังธัมมังสังฆังนะมัสสามิ So I would like to pay respect to the most venerable Sangha, monks and nuns, and dear Dhamma friends and distinguished great guests today. And so it's my great honor to be here with you today to celebrate the 90th of His Holiness Dalai Lama together. I also would like to humble offer my good wishes to him for his longevity, good health, and also be our guiding light of inner peace toward sentient beings, and also walk the path of the Buddha to enlightenment. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So I very happy to be here to see most venerable and also venerable Chikwan. So I have seen her many times during my mission in Australia, and actually the venerable is one of my inspiration when I was first came to Australia, because venerable also every time I see her, venerable also give guidance and give teaching and organizing Buddhist activities in Victoria together. So, and the most important thing that she talked to me that venerable, 25 years, you look the same. So that made me, very encouragement. And I also replied to her, venerable, you also look the same. Yeah. So I think because of our practice, our meditation practice, that maybe keep us young. So this is just my thought. Okay. And and today is very important that we come together to celebrate the most important figure of Buddhist world, the Dalai Lama. I have a great opportunity to meet him twice in Australia. So back in 2002, so that I met him the first time in the Melbourne City, the Lot Level Arena. So he gave teaching to I think around 10,000 people at that stadium, and I just very very young monk at that time, and now also still young. Okay, and very impressed me because I didn't have experience teaching overseas, especially in Western world. So, but his example inspired me that okay, it is an opportunity to spread the teaching, and also lots of people interested in Buddhism, interested in the teaching of the Buddha. So I saw that they listen to His Holiness, very quiet, and it create a peaceful atmosphere at that time, and that made me that So I will follow the path and try my best to spread the Dhamma, the teaching of the Buddha. And also the second time at Kwan Bin Temple, prayer book in the western suburb. I met His Holiness for the grand opening of that temple, the Great Hall, and a lot of people. I think maybe 6,000, 5,000, 6,000 together, and also monks and nuns packed at the temple. His Holiness walked through to the gate, and he saw the big hall like this, okay, and he asked the abbot, Venerable Thubten, how much? How much? Okay. Venerable Thubten replied, 15 million. Okay, and His Holiness, he surprised. Oh, 15 million. Okay, and also he lead monks to chant the blessing in Tibetan, and he said, I will chant the blessing, the sutra. Okay, you just listen, he said to the crowd. You just listen, no one ever know. Okay, and he just chant, and so very impressed. And after that, he gave a very, very important idea and very important, guidance to Victorian Buddhist community. He said, Buddhism is not just, do the chanting and ask for the blessing and just, not just praying to the Buddha. No, it is about practice. And he said that we should emphasize in Buddhist education, Buddhist education. And so that made me, this is right, it's correct that we have to, to do more with Buddhist education to younger generation and emphasize in practicing, compassion and practicing morality in this country. So I just took his word, okay, and keep, and also implement to my activities and teaching and also my plan there. And so, and from that day, I just thinking that what is Buddhist education that the Dalai Lama means, okay, and what, we come to the discussion, what is it, what we're gonna do. So I asked Venerable Thubten, will we build a school? Okay, so Buddhist school, Buddhist primary school, something like that. But it is a big project, building Buddhist school in Australia, and so we have discussion together. But I think the Buddhist education, according to the Theravada tradition, it starts from Samma Ditti. That means the right view, Samma Ditti. So I like to read the Buddha word. The Buddha said, Bhikkhus, just as when the sun is about to rise, the dawn appears first at the side beforehand. In the same way, right view is the forerunner, the precursor and clear side of all wholesome qualities. So it starts from the right view. So and the first thing first, I think, is the law of karma. So they need to know the law of karma. Whatever we do, whatever we think, whatever we speak, there is a consequences. So that is the thing that I think is very important. Even though we don't have someone to monitor you, but you can monitor yourself. So you are responsible for your actions, and the Buddha taught every intentional action through body, speech, and mind has consequences. If we act with kindness, we experience happiness. If we act with harm, suffering follows. This is not a punishment imposed by anyone. It is simply the natural law of cause and effect. When we understand this, we become more careful with our words, more mindful of our actions, more responsible for our life. So, and this understanding is essential for cultivating compassion. So this is, I think, it's very important that we have to, emphasize and spread the word and this idea to society and people. And also the idea of the samsara. Samsara means the cycle of rebirth, death, and rebirth. So the Buddha said, before attaining enlightenment, the Buddha reflected, through many births in samsara, have I wandered in vain, seeking the builders of house, painful in birth, again and again. And upon enlightenment, he declared, house builder, you are seen. You shall build no house again. All your rafters are broken. Your rib pole is shattered. My mind has attained the unconditional, the end of craving has been achieved. So this is the concept of samsara. Yeah. And he not just teach the concept of samsara. He also show us the way out, that liberation is Nirvana. So Nirvana is the highest happiness, according to the Dhammapada. Nirvana is the supreme peace, the end of suffering, the end of craving, and free from the cycle of rebirth. So this is the Buddha teaching. And so it's clear that according to Theravada perspective, the aim of our life is very clear. So to work toward Nibbana and to cultivate the 10 parami, the 10 perfections. So I like to read for you we have a few minutes, okay? Generosity, morality, renunciation, wisdom, energy, patience, truthfulness, determination, loving kindness, and equanimity. This is not just ideal. They are practical qualities that purify the mind, support selfless service to others, and help us gradually let go of attachment. So according to the Buddha's teaching, so we born here on this earth, this life, to do good deeds, to cultivate the parami, the 10 perfections, that to purify our mind, that we can walk on the Buddha path toward Nibbana. This is the idea. If people know that the reason why we were born here on this earth, to do good deeds, to purify the mind, to get rid of greed, hatred, and delusion. I think this world is going to be nirvana. So, but now people, they don't know. They just born this is earth and taking, as much as they can. So that's why make problem and conflict around the world. So, but if they understand what is your aims of life, to purify the mind, to get rid of your greed, hatred, and delusion, the world will be peaceful. As our topic today, discussion that the Buddhist path of compassion towards world peace. So I like to end of my speak by invite everyone to just sending good wishes to everyone, to the world. And could you close your eyes for a while and bring your mind, your attention back to yourself, to the center of the body, and thinking of your good deeds that you have done together today, listening to the Dhamma teaching and discuss the idea for world peace, and also sending good wishes to His Holiness Dalai Lama. So I like to invite you to bring the mind back to the center of the body and visualizing a bright light at the center of your body, and call this one the light of peace that we're gonna extend and spread to society and the world. And send your loving kindness and good wishes to everyone. Wish for no conflict, no hunger, and no sufferings. And wish everyone be well and happy. Wish them walk the path toward nirvana, and wish for world peace with your inner peace. So continue sending your good wishes to everyone, families, friends, and to the world. Sabba Buddhanupavena, Sabba Dhammanupavena, Sabba Sankhanupavena, Sattha Sodhi Bhavantu Te. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you very much, Venerable Ronrawee, for your words of wisdom. Now, before we open the floor for questions, I'd like to invite the Deputy Abbot of Dhammakaya Temple in Thailand, who would like to make an offering of a Buddha statue to Ian Green.
I'm going to direct my question to Most Venerable Kallanchiye Rathanasiri Thero from Abhigiri Temple. Venerable, can you, we talk a lot about compassion and wisdom, loving kindness, and you are someone for 11 years, as long as I have known you, you have had courage to actually welcome me, overlook my differences, and to be able to be one of the first monks from Sri Lanka to bring Theravada and Tibetan tradition together under your temple, in your temple, to welcome us. Can you tell us how you develop courage at a time when no one else is prepared to take the first step, to be the one that walks the, not to the norm, but I guess it is courage. Can you speak to that?
Thank you so much, Lector. Actually, I was in the Sri Lankan Abhayagiri monastery. It was earlier in Sri Lankan people also, world people are believed to center of the Mahayana. Because of we have two traditions in ancient time. One tradition is the Mahavihara tradition. It belongs to the Theravada tradition. Newly started earlier in Abhayagiri tradition. Earlier, it was also part of the Theravada tradition, but after 400 years later, in 5th century, there are so many Indian Mahayana and Tantrayana and Vajrayanika monks also visited to Sri Lanka. Then, at that time, in Abhayagiri monastery monks, they studied Sanskrit language also. Another thing is our Abhayagiri monasteries, some kind of branches in India and Indonesia also. And other countries also we can see in Abhayagiri monasteries, traditions, monasteries. So at that time, Sri Lankan Abhayagiri monks studied Mahayana tradition because they studied Sanskrit language. So now we had a very big stones inscription right down in Sanskrit language. It belongs to also my temple in Abhayagiri monastery. But then in the ancient histories, our history books also, in one of our great leader, King Voharikatissa, at that time he said one person, you search the Abhayagiri monastery's books belongs to the Vajrayanika tradition or other tantric traditions. After that, he already decided to most books belongs to the Mahayana tradition books. Then he ordered to burn all the more than 9 elephants high. All the library's books put into outside, then burned. Then actually, so now we can search dig in some archaeological sites also. We have some kind of Mahayana tradition, stupas and the Dharani Gruhas and the Prajna Paramita Sutras, various kind of Mahayana impacts we can see in the Abhayagiri monastery. In ancient time, it is very related with the kingship and our societies also. So after the invaders of the Kalinga Maga, 12th century, our capital city turned to the Polonnaruwa capital city. After that, we changed our capital city to Polonnaruwa, Kurunagala, Yapahuwa, Kotte, Sitavaka, Gampala. Last our kingdom was the Kandy. After that, invaded the colonial English people already finished our capital cities and our kingship. After that, in Abhayagiri and Mahayana monasteries also, there was so many monks and the peoples also. There is so many fauna and flora. Last 1875, one of the great archaeological commissioner, H.C.P. Bell, already searched the Anuradhapura monuments. Then he identified this is the Abhayagiri, this is the Jetwanarama, this is the Mahavihara tradition like that one. After that we can see, now you can see what is the Abhayagiri and the Jayashrima Bodhi temple and other also places. Actually, in ancient time, there was Abhayagiri monastery. It is not only a Mahayana or Theravada tradition. It was look like a university, like Nalanda. Every world traditions, people, monks come together to Abhayagiri, then they study, comparatively studies Theravada tradition and Mahayana tradition. Now also so many electron and the Lama people and the Mahayana monks and the peoples are come to my temple to study and pray in there. I am also allowed to do this. All these belongs to our Sakyamuni Buddha's tradition.
Hello, my name's Margaret. Thank you all very, very much for your offerings. Thank you particularly to Venerable Chikwang for really grounding us in service in such a practical, long-lasting, day-to-day way. I think is much needed. Recently, I and many people, I think, followed, in my case, quite avidly, the Walk for Peace that a group of Theravadan monks undertook from Fort Worth to Washington, DC. And it was, in my perspective, such a beautiful gift of gentle walking as a public act of deep loving kindness and compassion. I wonder if you have some reflections on the walk and how an act like that might find its place here or in other parts of the world. Thank you.
Yes, I saw that a few times on the YouTube. It really had a very extraordinary impact, I think, on all the towns where the monks did their walk. And I have seen at other times, there were Japanese monks who walked around the world for peace. And recently I stayed with my nun friend at a small Airbnb, but I knew about it because of the Japanese monks had gone there and made a peace walk. And I have seen it in other places where they put up a little pillar and people go and do the walk. So it continues in this way, in a local way. The walk, the dog became the star, really. What was his name? Aloka, that's right. Perfect name, Aloka. Extraordinary dog, you know. But also very brave for the monks. I mean, they had to go through extreme cold, extreme weather conditions. I think they were lucky one of them was hit by a car, of all things. You know, obviously a karmic, because the car just went out of control. And yet there was a sense of not only peace, but a very strong message was being sent to the government, really, I think, about, the people are very concerned for the future of actions that may be done without a lot of preconsideration, to the effects on the whole world. So they were wise in doing it at this time. Mind you, even such incredible actions as in the time of the Buddha himself, trying to stop his two families from killing one another on each side of a river, and he explained, what is more important than the water of river or your blood of your brothers. So, sometimes all the action, the peace actions and the welfare of all, which is shared in many different ways in the world at any moment, going on somewhere in the world. But we've seen it through climate action. I remember when I was in the Bushfire, we had a small climate action group because they were harvesting all the trees. It did stop it for a while, but then, of course, it continues. But these still, that will remain in the minds of people who were there, people who saw it, people who were inspired in some way by this action of all the monks walking across the United States of America. And by this, the Dharma talks they offered, the strength and the clarity and kindness, all of these actions that the Buddha has shared in many ways for us to cultivate. These won't be forgotten in their lifetime, and in ours too. We will reflect. They're still continuing online in different ways. So I would like to sing. Now, I've heard of maybe 2 monks in Australia, one who actually has been walking in other countries, but has made a temple in Geelong, is that correct? And he does long peace walks and gathers people along the way to follow as supporters and new people to Buddhism. So it is something that is, you can put a message out there by doing such an action. I mean, of course, we know there's many peace walks for health and for other issues that arise. So it is a very good way to get a message across, engaged action. Just looking for that word, engaged action. It's not always accepted by some people in traditions, but I think all traditions have their form and the examples of great engaged action. Thank you.
Venerable, in regard to the question of right view, so if we're talking about engaging people, now, as Buddhists, we, of course, we know and try and understand as best we can karma and the outcomes of our karmic actions, and we take sort of some comfort in sort of thinking about or understanding, that perhaps people who, we certainly appreciate our good actions and we understand our negative ones and expect them to come back upon us. But for Western people, for whom karma is kind of, it's in the kind of common lingo. Everyone in Australia has heard the phrase karma. Everyone knows a little bit about it. But it can be hard for people to understand how it may fruit in future lives. So then, if we're explaining right view, how is it beneficial to explain it? Because, if we say, well, this may fruit in a future life, that may not make any sense to someone who only has a superficial understanding of karma. So I'm just wondering about your thoughts in regard to right view, just a little bit, perhaps a greater explanation. Thank you.
When we explain the right view, so we explain, so we share the truth that the concept in Buddhism. So maybe, someone they, not familiar with. So, but we just share them the idea, the law of karma, and the Buddha life, that the Buddha was a prince, and so he just, be a monk, and let go everything, his belonging, his kingdom, to find the inner peace, the enlightenment, because he saw the suffering of the people, and so he wanted to find a way to end of suffering. So I think the right view is a starting point that we should, emphasize and, share to society. Even though some people, they might not accept or understand, but I think there is many people will accept that, the law of karma and, the rebirth, this life, next life. So it's, we cannot see it at the moment, but this is a Buddhist idea that I think there is someone, and many people will understand and accept that. And so as the Buddha said, if everything starts from the mind, if we, have the pure mind, our thought, our action, our speech will be purified and happiness follow. But if we have a crowded mind, and, so when we speak, act, or, our performance will be bad consequences follow. So I think this is the, so you said that some guidance that, you share the right view to them, right? So I think that we just, we just tell them the truth and the Buddha idea to them. I think many people will understand. Thank you.
And just one line, I really think the Buddhist right view is in relation to the Four Noble Truths, and the view of the suffering, the view of the overcoming suffering, how to overcome the path and to liberation, So in that, of course, you have the Eightfold Path and you have all the path. From the Theravada, Venerable Sujato once taught me this, I remember. He said people get the idea of view a little bit mixed up. So I think you have to connect it to really the right view in relation to the Four Noble Truths. That's how I've been taught. Not from the Mahayana. Yeah, from Venerable Sujato. Oh, it's not to dismiss anything that Venerable said over here. That's all right too.
Thank you, Venerable Ronrawee. Thank you, Venerable Kwang and Venerable Thero, for your questions and your speeches today. We've now come to our tea break. There's a self-service tea station there, and please be back before 2:30, and we'll start on time. All the speakers will be back on stage in the later part of the segment of the program as well. After the tea break, we will have two Sangha members to talk some more about the path of compassion to world peace. Yeah, thank you. So we will begin the segment with two speakers speaking for 20 minutes, and then followed by a question and answer panel of all the 6 speakers that we've had today since this morning. So I'll start introducing Venerable Teacher Nguyen Tang. Senior Venerable Teacher Nguyen Tang was born in 1967 in Nha Trang City, Vietnam. He entered the monastic life as a novice in 1980, received the Samanera ordination in 1985, and was fully ordained as a bhikkhu in 1988. In 1997, he completed a Bachelor of Buddhism, and 1 year later, migrated to Australia to continue his Dharma mission. In recognition of his outstanding contribution to the community and chaplaincy services, he was awarded the Australian Centenary Medal in 2001. He's currently the abbot of Nguyen Tang Monastery in Melbourne, Australia. He also serves as the secretary of the United Vietnamese Buddhist Congregation of Australia, New Zealand, and is a member of the Dharma Committee of the World Buddhist Sangha Council. As the founder and webmaster of the Kwandak Online Buddhist Library since 1999, he has dedicated more than 2 decades to preserving, digitizing, and disseminating Buddhist teachings worldwide. Please put your hands together for Venerable Teacher Nguyen Tang.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? I would like to pay my respect to Geshe Lhakdor and all Buddhist monks and nuns, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to be here today to join with you to celebration of 90-year birthday of His Holiness Dalai Lama. I'm very happy to be back here to see the great stupa, very, very beautiful. So Mr. Ian Green and his staff had done a lot of things to build this great stupa. And today we are talking about the compassion, the teaching, majority teaching of His Holiness Dalai Lama. And you know, His Holiness Dalai Lama reborn from Wang Yin, you know, Wang Yin, the statue in here. Yeah, that is 1,000 hand, 1,000 eye. And you know, compassion have to combine Karuna and Metta. Karuna means want other people to be happy. And Metta help other people free from suffering. That it combine the meaning. If happy but still suffering is not compassion. You know. So Venerable Jiwang and Venerable Ratana and Venerable Ronrawee, they talk about the compassion, very, very beautiful. I came late this morning, I didn't hear, I guess I didn't hear what he talked about compassion. But my topic is the power of compassion from inner transformation to global harmony. You know, the compassion is the heart of the Buddha teaching. From Dhamma Buddha say, like a mother loves a child. She protects her child, even the risk of her life. Mother love without condition. Mother love without limit. Over the time. So like the Buddha teaching, the compassion with all sentient beings, be happy and free from suffering. So at the moment in our society has a big problem everywhere, from Thailand, Cambodia, Ukraine, Russia, and now in Middle East. Everyone is suffering about the world. So people, they ask the question about Buddhism, what we do, what we contribute for that. Where Buddhist leader, where they are, what we do. We organize the conference every year, World Buddhist Sangha, World Buddhist Fellowship, but we avoid to discuss about reality because we don't know what to do, and we not make decision about the world. We don't know what to do about. So compassion have to be inner peace for everyone. World peace have to be from the inner foundation. Hatred never appear by hatred in this world. And non-hatred alone, a hatred appear. This is an eternal law. This teaching is not merely moral advice, but reflects a profound psychological and social truth. His Holiness Dalai Lama, he said that world peace must develop from inner peace. World peace have to come from our inner peace. Peace in mind, peace in the world. But everyone, can you look back yourself? How you feel now? Happy, peace, and happiness? At least we are here in Stupa, under the Jai Buddha. Everyone very happy now. Yeah, we can explain. Yeah, we can explain our peace and happiness for everyone from Stupa. Compassion is the heart of the Buddha teaching, as I say. And compassion without recrimination for all sentient beings. And compassion have to combine with wisdom and compassion. You see the Wang Ying study here in green, he ordered from Vietnam. You see 1,000 hands and 1,000 eyes. In the center of eye, center of hand, you see the eye, small eye. Eye, the symbol of wisdom, to realize the suffering of sentient being. And the hand, the symbol of compassion. You know, hand, to open your hand, to hand the gift for charity. If you don't have the hand, you can open, you can hold. The mother cannot hold the child when the child cries. So the hand, reality of compassion. But you need the eye to see the suffering. You see, so the Kwang Yin statue in the Stupa is the main majority text of Ian Green. That is the symbol of His Holiness Dalai Lama. I love this statue, but he haven't painted yet. He will do soon. He will do soon. I love to see when it's complete. Very beautiful one. In Vietnam, from the north to the south, every temple we got this statue. 1,000 hands, 1,000 eyes. The symbol of wisdom and compassion. So compassion have to be complete by wisdom and compassion. If without wisdom, compassion become emotional and attack. You know, without wisdom, compassion become emotional and attack. And without compassion, wisdom become cold and distant. So Buddhist path have to combine compassion and wisdom. And compassion have to be beyond the ego. One teaching from the Buddha, he said, even if someone harm you, you should not give rise to anger. Because someone harm you, you think you are someone else. You are not yourself. You are not Mr. You are not Missy. So you're not angry. You be beyond yourself. You are no one, so you're not angry. So not easy, not easy to practice compassion beyond the ego. This or the true compassion is just the emotion, but freedom from your mind. And I would like to discuss about the practice compassion. Buddhism is not only teach the idea, but offer the practical methods. First, mindfulness. Mindfulness is very important in our daily life. Mindfulness helps you to recognize the anger when it's arrives, the fear when it's arrives, and suffering when it's developed in your mind, in your body. So when it comes, you know. That is mindfulness. And when it comes, you know, and it will go. It not stay with you. And without mindfulness, we react. Yeah, when it comes, you react immediately. Mindfulness helps you to calm down. You know, you act very quick and make you suffering, make you angry. With mindfulness, help you to transform, help you to purify. May you do that? Not easy, but you try. You try from now on if you want to have compassion. The second one, loving kindness meditation. Venerable Ronrawee and Venerable Rathanasiri talk about loving kindness and metta meditation. Yeah. Compassion help you to step by step to do loving kindness meditation toward yourself, towards loved one, towards difficulty, and towards all sentient beings. So when you meditate, you send out your loving kindness for people, even the people that you not love, you hate, but you still send loving kindness for everyone, not discrimination, not distinction. And loving kindness will help you to remove the boundary between you and other people. And the last one in non-self anatta. Most conflicts come from the idea of I. You know, I am right, I am wrong, I am hurt, I must defend myself. When we understand non-self, this is no one to fight, no one to hate. That is anatta, that is the final teaching of the Buddha. When you are no one, you no need to get energy to fight other people. You relax. Very good for you. Because when you defend yourself, you spend a lot of energy. If you give that energy to practice meditation, that's good for you, but you defend for other people. Yeah. I move to another path. From inner peace to global harmony. Buddhism teaches that personal transform lead to the world peace. A peaceful person can create a peaceful family. A peaceful family can create a stable society. And stable society will lead to the global harmony. That is the key for the people to show their compassion. If you would like our world harmony, our peace and happiness have to come inside peace first. Peace first, yourself and make your family happy. Your family happy, make your country happy. Your country happy will make the world happy. But not easy. Not easy now. Buddhism in the modern world. Today, Buddhist teaching can contribute in many ways. What is it? First, global aesthetic. His Holiness Dalai Lama, he always reminds about universal responsibility. That is very important. Responsibility from individual from Australia can affect someone in United States. One idea from here can affect someone in Tokyo. So be careful, be careful when you talk, when you think, when you act. Individual can affect around the world. So Dalai Lama, he always reminds the universal responsibility. The second one, the compassion can contribute interfaith dialogue. In Australia, we have every local council, we have interfaith group, interfaith network. So I'm the member of Interfaith of Maree Council for over 25 years. Every month we come together from Buddhist background, Muslim background, Catholic, Protestant, African Church, Hindu, and we discuss together. In last Lunar New Year, we organized a bus tour to visit the whole worship place around the country, around the city. And everyone very happy to listen the speak from the imam from Muslim mosque and Hindu temple and African church. I'm very surprised when I listen from the Catholic father. He talk about reincarnation. Reincarnation. Yeah. And after that, I asked him why you talk about reincarnation in the Catholic Church. And he said, because I learned from Buddhism. Because when he was young, he come to my temple, in Faulkner Temple. Yeah, he listened about death and rebirth. That is a very common teaching from the Tibet tradition. Very, very common teaching, but rare to hear inside the Catholic Church. And his member very happy. His member from Catholic Church very happy to know about reincarnation. So interfaith help for everyone to listen deeply, understand other, and respect different. And the last one, the practical application. Buddhist principles are now used to education, healthcare, psychology, and conflict resolution. Everyone should remember the teaching of His Holiness Dalai Lama. He say, if you want other people to be happy, practice compassion. If you want yourself to be happy, please practice compassion. That is how His Holiness Dalai Lama, he always reminds people about compassion. You have to practice yourself compassion before you request other people to practice. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Venerable Teacher Nguyen Tang, for your sharing your knowledge. I'll now invite Venerable Chokyi to be the second speaker. Venerable Chokyi was a previously international director of the Liberation Prison Project and spiritual program coordinator at Vajrayana Institute. Venerable Thubten Chokyi is currently the resident teacher at Tara Meditation Centre in Bunbury, Western Australia. Chokyi is the director of the International Mahayana Institute of APMT Monastics and chair of the Australian Sangha Association, representing monks and nuns of all Buddhist traditions across Australia. She is also vice president and spiritual advisor to Sakadita Australia. Actively engaged with interfaith initiatives, she is the Buddhist representative for Multi-Faith Australia. She's also a member of the Australian Religious Response to Climate Change. Venerable Chokyi holds a Master's in International Social Development and prior to ordination was academic coordinator of Indigenous Studies at Nonviolence Centre at the University of New South Wales. Please put your hands together to welcome her.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all our venerable Sangha, to all our special guests, of course, to Ian and Tim, and our esteemed speakers. I've been enriched by so much wisdom of the elders today, as I'm sure we all have. And I wish to join with others, paying my respect to the Jarawong people of the Kulin Nation, who've been able to compassionately care for this land since time immemorial, so we might gather in meaningful dialogue here today. I'm also personally indebted to the Indigenous elders who've guided me on my spiritual journey through the practice of deep listening, Dididi, really listening deeply to the land, to each other. A practice of reciprocity, which acknowledges that when the culture is well, the land is well. When the land is well, the community is well. When the community is well, we all flourish. So this seems to be a profound understanding of interdependence and the importance of universal responsibility for each other, for the environment, for humanity. And it seems that today there's no better place than right here to celebrate Harmony Day, the UN Day for the elimination of racism, racial discrimination, and to celebrate our Australian cultural diversity, focusing on inclusion, respect, and belonging. Not only here do we have this wonderful Peace Park, as others have mentioned, where all major faiths are represented, coming together side by side, but that those faith groups own this space and actively engage in practices from their own faiths and spirituality. Alongside that, of course, this amazing monumental great stupa of universal compassion, housing the Kallanchiye Mandala for world peace, which embodies the cultivation of human values of loving kindness, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, contentment, and ethics, shared universal values, not just amongst those of faith, but also the very foundation of society. His Holiness the Dalai Lama has bestowed the Kallanchiye initiation well over 30 times globally, including here in Australia. and each time it has attracted huge crowds, often hundreds of thousands of people. When His Holiness was asked why he gave such traditionally secret tantric teachings to such big public audiences, His Holiness said, "It is to foster world peace and harmony." And don't we need that right now more than ever? As others have said, and as the teachings say, peace in the world starts with peace in our own minds. A peaceful mind cannot do harm, doesn't do war, doesn't do conflict. It is what His Holiness calls inner disarmament. A mind of ahimsa, of non-violence, is peaceful by its very nature. As with other faiths, so many Buddhists pilgrimage, especially to India and Nepal, to sites of particular significance in the Buddha's time and in the lives of that of many great meditators, Mahasiddhis, since that time, sites that Geshe Lama Zopa Rinpoche would call power places. When you visit those sites, you immerse yourself in deep peace due to the power of their practice. Places like Shravasti, where Lord Buddha and his followers undertook 25 years rains retreats, or Paping in Nepal, where Guru Rinpoche meditated for 8 years. The impact on the environment there is still palpable even now, all these centuries on. The air is exquisite. These are indeed places of profound solitude, silence, and peace. In 2006, when His Holiness gave the Kallanchiye teachings at Amravati in India, the site where Lord Buddha bestowed these very teachings, the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh spoke about how having over 100,000 people gathering there over 12 days in prayer, mantra, engaging in peaceful practice, would transform the environment. This week, I'm reminded of that each time my phone pings with the calls to join a global minute of silence for world peace, echoing the silent minute during World War II, when populations across all British Commonwealth nations were encouraged to enter into silence at the same time every night, in the belief that if enough people joined in the gesture of dedicated intent, the invasion of England would be diverted. After the war, its success in bringing peace was acknowledged by a high-ranking German officer who named it a secret weapon for which we could find no countermeasure and which we didn't understand, but it was very powerful. His Holiness has said that if every school child in the world learnt to meditate at an early age, in one generation we would have world peace. It's that simple. Can we believe it is possible in our lifetime? Can we imagine it? One person who dared not just to imagine it, but to actually dared to make it his life mission is Jeremy Gilley. In 1999, he took his proposal to the UN, his vision for just one day in the year to have a ceasefire globally. It's indeed hard to imagine today, isn't it? At a time when the world has never been involved in so much global conflict, hate speech, and vile racism in all its forms. In 1999, when people asked, "But what difference can a day make?" Jude Law's response was, "Well, it's the difference between life and death." The impact of Peace One Day initiatives in the decades since has seen a measurable reduction in violence and death, alongside a surge in acts of kindness, reconciliation, and community development globally on that one day, 21st of September each year. In Afghanistan, the cooperation of many UN agencies resulted in ceasefire observed by all parties on Peace Day 2007, and 10,000 aid workers were able to vaccinate 4.5 million Afghani children against polio. Annually on World Peace Day, there is now an estimated 15% of reduction in violent deaths compared to other days. All this from one person's vision. And this is by no means the only peace initiative in the world. One research study in 2024 surveyed over 5,000 peace initiatives worldwide, ranging from local to global organisations, multi-faith, education, social justice, law, environment, advocacy, UN programs, in fact, across every sphere of human endeavour. This then raises the question, how much of a critical mass does it take to make peace sustainable in the world? Not just for one day, but every day, everywhere. Most indicators suggest it takes 4% of a population to make any real significant change. According to the UN, it's estimated there are over 2 billion adults worldwide contributing to helping others, including grassroots peace building, community strengthening. And while this is hugely encouraging, it is good to keep it in the perspective as we contemplate that over a quarter of humanity still live in areas affected by conflict. Last weekend, I engaged in a silent retreat. I was one of 11 women as we took a mere 1 hour walking meditation in the bush. As the gravel crunched underfoot, I contemplated with every step how mindfully walking, peace in every step, peace in every breath, might be contributing to world peace. Indeed, as Margaret mentioned earlier, over the past few months, many millions of people worldwide have been captivated by the simplicity of those 24 Buddhist monks and one dog as they made that historic 3,700-kilometre journey across the states, in that gesture of loving kindness in their 108 days walk for peace. For a moment, it seemed to cut through the noise of war and global conflict. And the momentum does continue. It has generated many more global walks for peace, especially on a day such as today, Harmony Day. And there are many, many more planned for coming months. Cultivating a culture of peace, a culture of passion, compassion, and a culture of non-violence has never been so urgent for the survival of humanity, indeed the planet. As His Holiness Dalai Lama reminds us, it is our only home. For some years, I found myself returning again and again to the Golden Light Sutra, the chapter on the inviolable commitments of kings. The Buddha warned in graphic detail, when world leaders allow criminality and unethical behaviour to go unchecked in their country, crops cease to flourish, medicines cease to be effective, there is increased turmoil and conflict in their lands. Yet we seem to be blindsided to the impact of unethical behaviour on the planet, on harmony and social cohesion. In 1980, His Holiness the Dalai Lama wrote of a worldwide lack of human values, and that if we don't do something to address this, in time, the consequences for the future of humanity could be disastrous. It would seem 46 years on that we are at that crucial tipping point. His Holiness has spoken repeatedly of compassion as the pillar for world peace. As His Holiness reminds us, these are not claws, these are not fangs, Geshe reminded us this morning, to elevate ourselves above the animal realm. His Holiness pleads again and again for us to make the best use of our human intelligence, our innate human capacity for love, compassion, kindness and wisdom, essential to our very survival. In the 19th century, Charles Darwin observed that humans are uniquely hardwired for compassion. We can't help but help. In a talk in Sydney some years ago, His Holiness was contemplating where in evolution compassion kicks in. His Holiness was not sure about a single-celled amoeba and definitely not sure about mosquitoes, but most definitely amongst mammals. In recent years, observing the urgent need for greater compassion in his world, His Holiness has indicated perhaps he might take rebirth as a woman, noting that women, the mothers, the nurturers, are more compassionate in nature. We can't help but help. In 1999, His Holiness published Ethics for a New Millennium, Ethics for a Whole World, emphasising a moral system based on shared universal humanitarian principles. His Holiness reminds us that physically, mentally, emotionally, as humans, we are all the same. Underneath whatever superficial differences of colour, race, belief, gender, ethnicity, language, culture, our heartfelt yearning is the pursuit of genuine happiness, equilibrium, a life of physical, mental and emotional balance. At the same time, His Holiness reminded us of the role of youth in the 21st century. I recall His Holiness saying at the time, anyone over 30 years old, you're so last century. And His Holiness appealing to youth, the leaders of the future. Well, today, over half the world's population is under 30. And this generation is increasingly organising peace protests, entwining positive peace and climate action. His Holiness advocates for education of the heart through secular ethics that does not rely on religion, but on our shared universal values. As of 2025, the social, emotional and ethical learning, C-learning, K-12 curriculum developed at Emory University with His Holiness support has been implemented in India, the US, South America. Its scope to foster a more peaceful 21st century. In the early 1980s, where our founder Lama Yeshe launched his vision for universal education, a lifelong secular holistic education system to foster compassion and wisdom, focused on emotional intelligence, mental well-being and ethical living, Lama Yeshe was very clear. We have to get rid of the R word, religion, in education, in an increasingly secular world. His observation is affirmed in most recent census data from English-speaking countries, which indicates the majority of those under 30 report no religious affiliation, though encouragingly, many young people report an openness to spirituality in their search for meaning. When the 16 guidelines for a happy life inspired by Lama Yeshe and revolving around themes of thinking wisely, acting kindly, balancing and building harmonious relationships and embracing change for deeper meaning, was launched in Sydney at the 2005 Minded's Potential Conference. 200 people, mostly educators, signed up for a workshop we anticipated would be for 20 participants. The Guardian, while praising the program, nonetheless reflected on the sadness that we have to actually teach ethics. This initiative has evolved into the Foundation for Developing Compassion and Wisdom, offering meditation programs such as a 12-week A Mindful Heart, a journey to inner strength and compassion, understanding the mind, transforming destructive emotions, and living with purpose. At that same Mindedness Potential Conference, responding to neuroscience presentations of testing the brains of meditators, Tibetan Lama Geshe Lhakdor suggested they should place the electrodes around the heart chakra rather than the brain. When this was subsequently done, it revealed that there is a response at the heart chakra spontaneously before a brain response. Further studies of meditators indicate that responses from meditating on compassion for as little as 10 minutes a day for 2 weeks has a much more powerful impact than mindfully meditating on the breath. Not long after that conference, John O. Fisher launched Wake Up Sydney, his vision to make Sydney the kindness capital of the world. What a challenge. For the next decade, the Wake Up Project hosted regular symposia and workshops and distributed over 250,000 cards in what he called the Kindness Revolution. Each card left behind at cafes, conferences, and a raft of public venues invited recipients to pay it forward with an anonymous act of kindness. Jono's mission was to encourage people to spread compassion in their daily lives. Today, there are numerous education programs exploring the science of integrating contemplative practices of mindfulness and compassion into schools to support well-being, development and learning. A global advocate for compassion, His Holiness the Dalai Lama has been a great influencer in this regard over the past 40 years of dialogue with key thinkers in the area of mind science and compassion studies, in particular the Centre for Compassion and Altruism Research and Education, CCARE, at Stanford University, and through the Mind and Life Institute, hosting dialogues fostering a deeper appreciation of the mind's role in shaping human flourishing and addressing the challenges of our times. Anyone who has spent even a short amount of time around His Holiness the Dalai Lama knows the power of his presence, his kind heart that can stay with you forever. And I'll close with this one story. The Bill Cruz Foundation has been providing 1,000 meals a day and welfare support for homeless people in Sydney for the past 40 years, one of many such initiatives worldwide. In 2013, His Holiness the Dalai Lama personally served lunch to the homeless at their Loaves and Fishes restaurant. In the weeks following, a guy very excitedly approached me in the street nearby, and on his cracked phone showed me a photo of himself with His Holiness the Dalai Lama serving him lunch. His face beamed joyfully as he recalled that cherished moment, as did Reverend Bill Cruz on His Holiness Dalai Lama's 84th birthday, when he reflected, "What I have learned from His Holiness is that there is one religion, and that religion is loving kindness. All other religions are based on that, on loving kindness and compassion to all." And in the words of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, my religion is kindness, because after all, in the end, only kindness matters.
Thank you, Venerable Chokyi. So we'll now open the panel for questions. If you could raise your hand, state your name and ask the question, followed by one or two sentences only to create context.
I was just wondering if there's some suggestions on things we can do each day to take our attention off ourselves so that we can be more compassionate with others.
Many years ago, I was at a workshop with Jean Houston, who's an amazing Episcopalian and a great thinker, there was a think tank of about 40 experts in different fields of endeavour with the Dalai Lama some years ago. And at this workshop, she said, we spend a lot of our time looking down and nobody thinks about me, poor pity me, and blah, blah, blah. And look up, look out. That's the first step to compassion, is actually having awareness of others around us. And instead of being self-absorbed, we're actually seeing where is it that I can offer a hand of help, a gesture. My favourite practice is smiling. Very simple. You go out in the street and smile at everyone you meet. And if it's a bonus if they smile back. One time my mother was in hospital, my mother since passed away, but when she was in hospital and the woman across on the other ward looked very, very unhappy. So I made it my mission to get her to smile in whatever time my mother was in hospital. We ended up having a wonderful conversation. I thought, that's double bonus points. We actually engaged in wonderful conversation. So recognise our shared humanity and that heart-to-heart connection is very easy to engage.
Without compassion, you become too cold and far distant. And without wisdom, you become wise and easy to fail in your mission. Have to see, realize what they need in their daily life. So in Buddhism, when you see people they suffering, you have to see the roots of suffering. What came from? What they came from greedy, from hatred, from ignorance. So the roots of conflict, the root of suffering. So His Holiness Dalai Lama to remind us to practice Buddhism, have to come back the rules, have to come back. First to be mindfulness. To be mindful. So to be mindful, you know the suffering, where it come from, where the conflict come from. When you see the root of the problem, you will see the solution. If you not see the root of the problem, you cannot. You can solve the problem. So you have to be slowly, to be calm down, to back your words, not react immediately. Normally, when you see something, you act immediately, and the problem will come. Okay, thank you.
My question to the chairman of the Australian Sangha Association. I have been in Australia for 10 years, so I have a lot of experience. I used to be a committee member of your organization. I saw why Buddhist community in Australia not following compassion to come one umbrella as a Australian Sangha Association. Why Buddhist community in Australia not following compassion to come in one umbrella?
So Venerable Adesila is asking about the Australian Sangha Association, of which I have been chair, I actually just stood down last week, that represents the monks and nuns of all traditions, right? Specifically the monks and nuns, so the monastics. And it's up to the monastics to want to participate in that. We don't go around forcing people to participate. And we partner with the Federation of Australian Buddhist Councils, which state by state represents all the temples, all the institutes, all the Dharma schools, so the idea is of collaboration together. For some years there was discussion about joining those two organisations, and for various reasons it's decided to remain separate. But the idea is that there's those two entities that work together. So that's the idea of that.
My name's Deirdre. Geshe, can I ask you a question, please? We hear the word mindfulness throughout so many different ways now. I'm just wondering if you could just bring it back to talk to it from a Tibetan Buddhist perspective, what mindfulness means for you and Buddhists.
Mindfulness. When we use the word mindfulness, it is mindfulness or mindfullness. Which one is the correct one? The first one is correct, right? So mindfulness, mindfullness, is not what we are talking about. Your mind is already full with so many junks. So not the double L, but single L, mindfulness. Now this is important because our mind is distracted towards hundreds and thousands of stupid, useless things. So the Buddha is saying, if you want to achieve anything in your life, you need to focus. If you take a picture, now the digital cameras are much better. Earlier, if you want to take a photo, you need to focus. Even when you try to kill somebody with your gun, you need to focus. With the laser beams, if the rays of the lights of the laser beams are scattered, it can't cut through the steel. If the rays of the laser beams are concentrated, it can cut through steel. So when your mind is not distracted and focused, you can achieve almost anything in a short time.
We are not able to achieve much in study, in cooking, in so many things, because we are doing everything with half-heartedness, distracted, and especially these days, people really don't know whether they are watching movie or eating or what are they doing, right? You're not there. So mindfulness means you should be one piece. So in mindfulness, we primarily talk about mindfulness of your body, your feeling, your mind, and the phenomena, rest of the phenomena. So the greatest problem that we are facing in today's world is neither we are able to live with others, nor we know how to live alone. So through mindful practice, what is being taught is, you came into this world alone. You will go alone. Why so much fuss in between? Friend, boyfriend, girlfriend, there, so many distractions. Because at the end of the day, if you are unable to take care of yourself, nobody can take care of you. Therefore, be mindful, be with yourself. Now, the problem with us today is we are so distracted, especially in this materialistic world and shiny gadgets. Always outside, not with yourself. That's the problem. So Buddha is saying, Buddha is teaching the bitter truth, and Buddha is saying that if there's one person in this world with whom you have to spend the rest of your life, it is you. Not boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. I'm not saying all are bad, you may need some of them. But at the end of the day, you need to accept this bitter truth. If there is one person with whom you are going to spend the rest of your life, or all of your life, is you, not other people. So therefore, recognize yourself. Recognize yourself. Understand your capacity, your inner resources, like compassion that we are talking so much about. We have no idea about our own capacity. We don't know how to take out those. Actually, even the English word, education, means taking out, help take out what you have, your capacity. But today's education doesn't do that. The only thing, teach, put in the brain, this, that. And then we, through education, we learn how to copy others. Not be with yourself. So in many of my talks, I've been telling people, please listen. You are the only true original copy in this world. True original copy, which means you have your own capacity, your own quality, which no one else has. So it's not important to try to imitate Bill Gates or, some of the famous actor, actresses, president, prime minister. Don't copy them. Take out your own capacity. So in order to do that, distraction is the greatest hindrance. So therefore, mindfulness means concentrate. Therefore, in Buddhism, we talk about two kinds of meditation. One-pointed meditation, analytical meditation. Mindfulness practice has both. One, you concentrate on what is really important. Concentrate on your breath. Concentrate on your breath means to recognize that I'm alive. Right? And then at the same time, once you are able to achieve this concentration, then analyze what is right, what is wrong, what is good for oneself, what is good for others. And it's not only in Buddhism, other philosophers, they've also said concentration is the source of success, both in war and in peace. Therefore, we need mindfulness. Sorry, I took a long time.
We're compassionate about climate change. We're compassionate about environment and animal justice. And the action we do may also impact people, like ordinary people traveling to work, ordinary people trying to manage the, like having a roof over their heads, but they not allow us to chopping trees around the environment. So just my question is, how do you find that balance, and how do you apply skillfulness in communication in that situation?
So when you're asked to be engaged in some environmental or social action, and you're finding it difficult to share what it is that you want to say. Sometimes you feel maybe the person asking, maybe a friend, maybe a teacher, is imposing on you. Is that what you're suggesting? And you may also have a very busy life doing other things. So I'm still trying to gather the thread of the question, unless someone else gets it better. But we all have responsibility to what it is we take up and what it is we do in our life, and how much we can do, and what we have a skillful means to do. We may not have a skill to go and talk about climate change, but we may be part of a small group in which we can offer an hour or two a week and do some small aspect of that. So I think it is very much up to ourselves to clarify what it is we can do, where we can offer, where we want to offer in some way. I think so, some level of social engagement in a small way is also very useful to our own personal development, especially if we're working in a small group of people who have an objective. But if we're not inclined, or we have too much of a burden in other aspects of our life, then it may not be the right time to take up such an engagement. Or we can offer just a short period of time, an hour on the telephone or something like this. But every one of us has to be responsible for our own action. Nobody can tell us what we should do. Even a teacher can only, the Buddha advised, he didn't tell people to believe in him. He offered his insights, but not everybody accepted those. And he spoke about that. But he encouraged us to take aboard and to investigate, to look into a situation and see if there is truth in that for ourselves. So I've done a lot of engagement over the years, especially with environmental work and other social work and committee work. But there are times where, I'll give an example, where I felt that the direction of the Buddhist Council was becoming so involved in what the government wanted. The Buddhist Council and the even the Sangha Association wanted other religious groups to do their work. And they were paying a lot of money, and we were employing the people to do the job. But we had to ratify. There were many meetings to discuss which direction it's going, what's happening. And I felt it was perhaps, particularly with Sangha Association, it wasn't the point of why Sangha are coming together and what Sangha could do to help other Sangha. So at some point when I felt I couldn't contribute anymore, I stepped down from that position. Not that and I only recently stepped down from the Buddhist Council, mostly health issues at the time. So we have to be, nobody is responsible for our life and our actions, only ourselves. So if it's something to do with your thoughts or your projections, or you're feeling you have to, then look into your mind, look into your own heart, look into your capacity, your energy, and how much time you have to do what in your day. If it's a burden, then what happens is there is a great burnout of people engaged in doing Buddhist work for temples, per se, because they haven't balanced that commitment.
Can you give us advice on the practice of compassion from a Buddhist perspective and from a secular view?
So for me, compassion is a very important aspect and practice that keep me going in the monastic life. And I contemplate every day that all beings born to do good deeds and purify the mind, and also cultivating the 10 perfection parami. And also I contemplate that as the Buddha said, we are one big family. So we have to help each other, helping together. And for myself, I thinking that I have the responsibility to bring people to practice Buddha's teaching and go to the path of enlightenment. So that keep me going and continue in the practice and monastic life. So just contemplate every day. As my teacher, he taught his follower that every morning when he wake up, when he put on the robe, he think that, okay, today I'm lucky, I'm still alive, another day. And he just used that day to do his best for, for the Buddhism and for society and for people. And after the day, he just thinking that, okay, today I have done lots of good deeds, lots of good things, and he just sleep tight, sleep well. So compassion is very important component in this aspect in practice.
I wanted to actually answer that question of balancing. There is a teaching in Buddhism which says, if it is beneficial, give poison. If it is not beneficial, don't even give medicine. So what you should do, what you should not do, should be known through using your brain, wisdom, knowledge. For example, in Buddhism, there is a very heavy, strong teaching on the practice of the 10 perfections, including generosity or giving. But giving does not mean indiscriminate giving poison, giving nuclear warheads. This is also giving, but because it's harmful, don't give. Even if it is a particular food, but if that food is not suitable to that sick person or pregnant women, don't give. So you need to know when to give, how to give, where to give, to whom to give. You need to know all this. Therefore, His Holiness is always saying, study, reflect, think. So basically, one of the key practices of Buddhism is unity of compassion and wisdom. In simple words, I call it harmony of heart and head. The development of compassion, as much as possible, should be dependent on wisdom, knowledge, as I mentioned this morning also. That if you have this clear knowledge how everybody is suffering, compassion will come. And without that knowledge, you cannot say, oh, I need to be compassionate because His Holiness the Dalai Lama says or Buddha says no. And then the basis of compassion is the insight, knowledge. Just like me, everybody wants happiness. Just like me, everybody don't want suffering. But I am suffering, they are suffering because of ignorance.
So we need to know the reality a little bit, how to remove suffering and so forth. So harmonious development of head and heart is the key factor.
I would like to summarize the symposium by all the 6 speakers presented today. Interdependence has been mentioned a couple of times. It is a state of mutual reliance we have on each other, our family, our communities, our countries, our environment. We are so interconnected to each other that when we harm others, we also harm ourselves, and vice versa. When we benefit others, we also benefit ourselves. Our actions have a rippling effect on others, whether good or bad. Peace in the world starts with peace in our minds. And in order to change the world, we must start with ourselves. We can take responsibility for our life to benefit others by cultivating wisdom and compassion, by following the Buddhist path to world peace taught by the speakers today, such as developing our mind, mindfulness, kindness, right view, or by following the guidance of other religions or secular ethics. By monitoring ourselves, our actions, our thoughts, and our intentions, which ultimately leads to consequences of creating a more peaceful world. Choosing action over inaction, doing our little bit, whether it be the walk of peace, helping the orphanage, saying no to harmful products. We can also create awareness, and also not just cultivating knowledge, but also developing our wisdom. By practicing genuine, unconditional compassion, as promised by Geshe Lhakdor, we will never tire. So, by starting with ourselves, bit by bit, by being so interconnected to each other, we can create world peace. So I'd like to thank the 6 speakers today for sharing their wisdom with us today. Thank you again to all the VIPs, benefactors and volunteers who make this day possible. And also thank you everyone for presenting our first Buddhist Symposium at the Great Stupa of Universal Compassion. And we hope there will be many more symposiums to come. So we will now present the speakers with gifts to show our appreciation for sharing your wisdom today. Yeah, just. So let's just dedicate the merit. Metta merit created through the day create the causes for us and all sentient beings to awaken our true compassionate nature, to eliminate wars and suffering for all sentient beings. We also dedicate the merit also to His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, the embodiment of compassion, to keep guiding us in the transformation of our minds with his kindness. Thank you. Would the Sangha members please come up and stand behind the speakers? And would everyone please come up to stand at the front, facing the entrance, and then we'll have... Sure. Oh, sorry, we'll have the Sangha picture first, sorry. We'll like to take a Sangha picture first, and then we'll have the rest of you stand in the front. Venerable, yes, please go on. Yeah. If everyone can come forward, please. If everyone can come forward, please, and stand in front, and we'll take a big group photo. Could everyone go through, like, make sure so go inside the room if you could. Go in, to the front maybe. Yeah. And also the front, if you come inside a little bit, not past the stage, so we can squeeze everybody. Would you like to see? If you can squeeze through. Yeah. Yeah, squeeze through. Perfect.